The girl died the night before her college entrance exam, and the next second, she's gloriously reborn in another world. She's sworn to live a lazy life this time around, but she's destined to be a magical genius. Please, does she really have to attend this stupid school? But those magical formulas in class are even simpler than 1 + 1 is equal to 2. To her, she's bored out of her mind. Reborn just to study again. This life is unbearable. Forget about talent or whatever. Studying can go die this day. Sarah sneaks off to the library again, using a book as a blanket. And just as she's about to fall asleep, someone pokes her awake. Sarah, oh. It's Nora, holding a thick book with that typical bookworm look. The two call themselves friends, but it's more like Nora one-sidedly clings to Sarah. Others often mistake them for sisters, but they're actually worlds apart. Nora chases knowledge while Sarah chases her bed. Right now, Nora starts urging Sarah to study together again, but Sarah immediately laughs it off and changes the subject, launching into her slacker each. Before she finishes talking, her eyes land on an old book in front of her. Super Simple XX Contract Method. Sarah stares at the title, grumbling that it sounds like a cookbook. She flips through 2 pages and finds it more complicated the more she reads. She's only been thinking for 2 minutes when she starts feeling dizzy, so she immediately closes the book as expected. Thinking isn't for me. A voice suddenly comes from behind. The librarian explains. This is an introductory book about spirits. Spirits are embodiments of the world's elements, like water elementals. She adds that once you bind a contract with a spirit, it can cast spells for you. Sarah instantly perks up. There's such a good deal. The librarian continues. Spirit binders are rare across the entire continent. Extremely uncommon. Sarah's heart bursts with excitement. This is tailor-made for her lazy lifestyle. Her future of earning effortlessly is right before her eyes. Sarah clutches the book, thrilled, making money without studying. I'm definitely borrowing this. Soon after in the palace, the emperor tells Victor to skip the formalities. After all, he's his teacher and the headmaster of the Magic Academy, so there's no need for ceremony. The emperor leans back on his throne and immediately sees through Victor's intentions. You need a favor? The headmaster responds yes. He hopes His Majesty will agree to establish a spirit binding department at the school. Their nation, the Night Kingdom of Velan, though renowned across the continent, is heavily guarded against, even by the mighty Astra Empire. But talent is scarce, so the emperor desperately seeks capable people. The emperor tells the headmaster he trusts his judgment, but they must be cautious. After all, establishing a spirit binding department is easy, but finding a spirit binder teacher is hard. The headmaster replies that if he approves, they can hire an intermediate spirit binder from the palace to teach. However, the emperor still wonders, is it worth establishing a new department for just one student? The headmaster quickly says, this visit is also to explain the situation regarding student Sarah Kane. She possesses wisdom far beyond her years. If properly nurtured, she'll surely become someone important. Unfortunately, this child has no ambition, but recently she suddenly saw the light and came to him, even threatening that either she studies spirit binding or she drops out. The emperor laughs and praises Sarah's courage. The headmaster continues, persuading Your Majesty. Spirit binders are extremely rare, and Sarah is undoubtedly among the most talented. Even the palace spirit binders praise her as a once-in-a-millennium prodigy. This is truly Velan Empire's fortune. The emperor is finally persuaded and says he'll support establishing the spirit binding department. But Sarah, learning all this, is internally devastated. The headmaster actually has the emperor as his backing, but I just wanted to drop out. Damn it, the headmaster keeps reminding her to bring honor to Morningstar Academy. Someone approaches and Sarah wonders. Who's it? The headmaster introduces him. This is the Empire's chief spirit binder. Aiden Thorne, say hello. Sarah gracefully curtsies. I'm Sarah Kane, pleased to meet you. Aiden extends his hand, Miss Sarah. I've heard your name before. Sarah unconsciously grabs his hand and squeezes it like a stressed toy, marveling your hands are so soft. Aiden awkwardly explains that a clean body is the foundation of being a spirit binder. Only with purity in body and mind can one communicate with spirits. Sarah secretly rejoices from this perspective. You can become a spirit binder just by coasting through life. How awesome, however. 3 years fly by, and Sarah regrets everything and breaks down every day. Is theory class so annoying? Aiden advises from the podium that spirit binders mustn't be impatient. She should calm down before continuing class. Sarah snaps back, practice makes perfect. Theory is just an empty shell. I'm done learning, Sarah grumbles to herself. Teacher Aiden looks gentle, but who knew he'd be this stubborn? Sarah whines with tears in her eyes, teacher. You've changed, you promised to teach me binding. Aiden closes his book, the promise was conditional on you attending class properly. How many times have you shown up this week? Twice or once? I can't even remember. Aiden says seriously that summoning spirits requires a pure mind and powerful mental strength. Without understanding spirit behavior theory, you'll be endlessly pestered by spirits. Sarah listens absent-mindedly, then suddenly remembers the book she borrowed. So she interrupts Aiden, thinking that the binding method she read in the book is different from what the teacher says. So she asks urgently, teacher, what do you need to prepare to bind with a spirit? Aiden is pleasantly surprised. Sarah is actually asking questions. She's finally interested in the lessons. Aiden flips through the book. This was covered 2 weeks ago. It's not too difficult. Sarah acts eager to learn. Teacher, I want to hear it again. Aiden explains that summoning circles come in 4 forms, corresponding to fire, water, earth, and wind attributes. Spirit levels include low, intermediate, high, and supreme, with supreme spirits above them all. Sarah leans forward to look at the book on the podium, muttering to herself that these summoning circles are way too simple. Then she raises her hand. There are 20 circles total. Aiden answers yes. Sarah asks again, is there a situation where you only need to draw 1 circle? Aiden says in ancient times, there was originally only 1 summoning circle. The current ones are all derived from it. Then why change it to 20 circles? Sarah asks, Aiden answers that the ancient circle couldn't summon specific spirits. You never knew what you'd get. Sarah immediately gets it. Isn't this just like a loot box? Aiden explains. It mainly summons spirits whose aura matches yours. So there's a high chance of summoning dangerous spirits, which is why it was discontinued. Sarah startles, dangerous spirits. Aiden says someone once summoned a dark, cursed spirit. Its capacity for evil rivals that of demon gods. Dark cursed spirits are shadow attribute. Binding with them costs your life. Sarah is confused. Shadow attribute. Aren't spirits just fire, water, earth, and wind? Aiden answers those are just the main categories. There are also powerful spirits humans can't control. For example, death spirits and supreme spirits. Their power nearly rivals the gods. Sarah raises her hand. So if you use the ancient circle now, would you still summon something? Like a dark cursed spirit? Aiden shakes his head. There aren't that many evil people nowadays. Sarah's eyes light up. Oh, so it's not that dangerous then. She calculates. Though the success rate is low and it's random, the ancient circle is worth a try. So she quickly slips away without looking back, rushing to the alchemy department. Excuse me, sorry to bother you. Is Nora here? Nora is surprised to see Sarah. Sarah, what brings you here? Sarah gets straight to the point. I need to ask you a favor. Sarah says she wants mana essence. Nora nods. I do have some, but mana essence is expensive. The school rations it out, and it's very scarce. Sarah immediately offers a trade. Give me 1 beaker, and I'll give you my yellow ribbon. Nora is surprised. Isn't that ribbon a gift from your brothers? Sarah shrugs it off. If you add spirit dust, I'll throw in my pink apron too. Seeing Nora still hesitating, Sarah adds, plus a box of chocolates. If not, go find Ivy. Nora immediately gets jealous. Why would you go to Ivy? You're not allowed to hang out with her. In the end, Nora gives Sarah the items. Sarah grins mysteriously. Hey, this is my ticket to early graduation. She's confident tonight will definitely succeed. In the quiet dorm late at night, Sarah gets out of bed time to begin. She thinks as she starts, if I'm not discovered, failing won't be a loss, and if I succeed, teacher Aiden might even praise me as a genius. She picks up the draft to study it. Even geniuses have to follow a template. Sarah stops overthinking whatever. Just start drawing. So she begins seriously drawing the circle. Before long, she complains. This ancient circle is way too complicated. 5 minutes later, Sarah rubs her hands and continues working on the remaining parts. Feel this should be about right. After finishing, Sarah breathes a sigh of relief. She takes out a magical engraving knife and begins carving over the circle she drew earlier, grumbling as she carves. This is why I don't want to be a mage. This work is exhausting. Several hours later, Sarah finally finishes carving and collapses on the floor exhausted. She pumps herself up, gotta pull it together. I worked so hard to finish this. Sarah gets up and first pours mana essence into the circle. Then she sprinkles spirit dust. All preparations complete. The summoning circle activates instantly, and a bright light flashes. Sarah gets excited. Looks like I drew it correctly. Now I just need to chant the spell to summon. If it fails, I'll just pretend nothing happened. Sarah glances at her cheat sheet and begins chanting the summoning spell. For the ancient circle, after finishing the spell, Sarah suddenly feels empty inside, as if most of her mana has been drained. Seeing no response, she wonders, did the summoning fail? All that work for nothing? Then she looks up at the ceiling and suddenly senses a faint spirit presence. She hurriedly calls out to the spirit, saying if it doesn't come out, this will turn into a horror comic scene. Sarah promises she'll treat it well if it comes out. So entrust yourself to me. A voice comes from the darkness, demanding a name. Sarah excitedly asks where the spirit is. She wants to see what it looks like. She wonders, don't spirits all have their own names? Like Shelf. The spirit answers that radiant spirits have names. But it's different. Sarah asks in alarm. Are you a shadow spirit? The spirit denies it, saying it's more of an alloy spirit. Sarah gets anxious, so I just need to give you a name. Right? The spirit responds, yes. It needs a name as proof of contract. Before it can appear, Sarah blurts out, then from now on you'll be called Zeta. She thinks to herself, is naming it in 5 seconds too hasty? This was even her dog's name in her past life. Yeah asks for its master's name. Sarah answers Sarah Kane. Zeta promises to stay by Sarah's side forever, until her death the next morning. Zeta shouts for its master, waking Sarah from her sleep. Sarah grumbles impatiently. Who's making noise so early in the morning? After a moment, she bolts upright. So last night wasn't a dream. Zeta says it's over by the door handle. Sarah wonders why it didn't return to the spirit realm. Zeta says it doesn't need to return. It can stay by its master's side for life. It surely asks if she's happy. Sarah asks, curiously, what Zeta was doing at the door handle. Zeta explains that to take physical form, it needs to absorb metal and reconstruct a body. Sarah looks around. There's nothing here for Zeta to absorb metal from. She suggests the alchemy class has lots of metal. Let's go check it out together. Sarah tells Zeta to enter the candlestick first. For easy carrying, Rita suddenly warns Master. Someone's standing at the door. They have light green hair. Sarah instantly realizes that must be Teacher Aiden. Right now she's a mess and not presentable, so she frantically rushes to wash up and get ready. Then she immediately opens the door, only to suddenly hear a thwack. Aiden gets hit and cries out in pain. What are you doing? Do you know what time it is? Sarah answers groggily, 12 o'clock. Aiden asks back, then what time should class start? Sarans vir 11 o'clock. But I'm only 10, why do I have so many classes? Aiden sighs helplessly, I thought you were defying me. But you just overslept, Sarah proudly announces. She's already successfully bound a contract with a spirit all by herself. She hands over the candlestick look. Aiden is puzzled what's wrong with his candlestick. Sarah panics. This is an alloy spirit. Aiden sighs Sarah. There's no such thing as a spirit. That looks like a candlestick. Sarah shouts, it's real, teacher. I'm not crazy, this is an alloy spirit. Aiden still thinks she's lying. Sarah desperately defends herself. It's true, I summoned it using the book from the library. Aiden presses, is it the ancient summoning circle you asked about yesterday? Sarah nods yes. An attributeless spirit came out of it. Aiden is shocked, an attributeless spirit. Where did you hear that? Such spirits only exist in theory. They can't be summoned at all. Sarah says it came out of that summoning circle. Aiden says that in thousands of years of history, that circle has never summoned a spirit. Zeta quietly asks Sarah from the candlestick, hey, are you really that amazing? Sarah responds, smugly of course. I'm one of a kind. Aiden can't hear the conversation and gives an helplessly fine. Prepare for your practicum. Sarah is thrilled. Practicum. You'll let me bind a contract with a spirit. Aiden dampens her enthusiasm. Don't get too excited, it's not that simple. It'll take at least a few years. Sarah asks, what if I succeed on the first try? Aiden denies it impossible. If someone could they be a genius among geniuses? Sarah secretly gloats. Could I be an unparalleled prodigy in the spirit world? Sarah follows Aiden, excited that she's finally going to learn binding. She resolves to keep Zeta a secret for now. Just then Aiden turns back, Sarah. Are you planning to carry that candlestick around? Sarah hesitates. This is my lucky charm. Aiden is puzzled, an ordinary dorm candlestick. That's a lucky charm, Zeta suddenly shouts, Master. There's a huge piece of iron over there. Can I absorb some? Sarah hurriedly whispers, no. No way, that's Holy Knight Gareth's armor. And it's the headmaster's treasure. You can't touch it, Zeta wonders. By the way, Master, why have you been whispering since earlier? Sarah whispers an explanation. If people see me talking to a candlestick, they'll think I'm weird. She worries privately. A spirit that doesn't return to the spirit realm would definitely become a research subject. Zeta suggests so. Then we can talk mentally. It's very convenient. Sarah immediately tries to concentrate, thinking I'm right now extremely. Zeta immediately responds, Master. So you're hungry, that's how we talk. You're doing great, Sarah says smugly. Of course, after all, I'm a genius. Aiden stops at a door. We're here, I'll go apply for access. Wait here, Zeta suddenly sounds dejected, Master. I'm a bit sad you just bound with me, and now you're about to bind with other spirits. It hurts my pride. Sarah is speechless. Hey. I said I'm in a bad mood, Sarah responds coldly. Zeta sounds even more aggrieved. Hey. How can you do this? You already have me. Why do you need other spirits? Sarah retorts, so what if I have you? What use are you, mister? Candlestick, light up my life. Zeta protests indignantly. If I unleash my full power, conquering the world would be a piece of cake. Sarah is shocked. Conquer the world. Too bad, I just want to be a slacker. Aiden returns with a key. Sorry for the wait. Getting permission took some time. Sarah smiles brightly. Not at all. It wasn't long. Aiden opens the door. This is your first time here, right? This is the binding chamber. He explains this was just built recently. It only has low-level summoning circles. Let's give you a feel for first. He reminisces. Seeing this room reminds him of his first binding. Sarah urges him, I get it. Can we start already? She thinks. I need to get my spirit binder certification quickly and go back to being a slacker. Aiden reminds her that no one succeeds on their first try, so don't get your hopes up. Sarah asks back, teacher, do you remember my life motto? Reincarnated. Say it, do it. And things you hate, you'll hate forever, right? Sarah beams, our teacher understands me so well. That's it. Aiden asks, have you thought about what kind of spirit you want to bind with? Any preference? Sarah freezes, not yet. How about I just use eeny meeny, miny mo? Aiden guides her earnestly. Close your eyes, listen to your heart, and hear which spirit is calling to you. Zeta fumes on the side. You're not allowed to think about other spirits. Sarah snaps back mentally. Shut up, Xena protests mentally why. You already have me, and you're looking for other spirits. Seeing her lack of response, Aiden suggests if you haven't decided. How about a fire elemental? Sara flatly refuses I hate fire. I don't want to bind with a fire elemental at all. She thinks, my body from my past life was probably cremated, so I have trauma around fire. Aiden suggests again, how about a wind elemental? That's my specialty too. I can teach you a lot. Sarah doesn't respond. Instead, asking mentally Zeta, what's most compatible with you? Zeta answers mentally actually. I'm close to a tribute list, but if I had to choose, it'd be Earth. Because most things that come from the ground are my subordinates. Sarah suddenly speaks up, teacher. I've decided I choose a water elemental. Zeta bristles, then why did you even ask me? You asked and didn't listen. Aiden agrees water elementals have gentle temperaments and aren't hard to control. He adds water elementals have another advantage. From intermediate level onwards, they can use healing magic. Perfect for beginners, however. Summoning them is supposedly troublesome. The success rate isn't high. He comforts her, Sarah. Even if the binding fails, don't be too discouraged. You might be better suited to other spirits. Finding the right spirit is also a form of training. Sarah raises an eyebrow, teacher. You're not assuming I'll definitely fail. Are you? Aiden instructs her. Just chant the summoning spell here first. Stand in the center of the circle. Sarah steps into the circle. Aiden continues. Now release your mana through your hands. Sarah nods okay. Got it, let's begin now. She starts chanting blue water elemental. That pure and gentle power. I wish to be one with your benevolent strength. By the sacred covenant, passed down since the world's beginning. Answer my call. The spell finishes and the summoning circle activates. Aiden watches the light in the circle, amazed. Hey, heavens, could it be? He shouts excitedly, Aquina. She actually summoned a water elemental. Sarah is also shocked. Wow. So spirits are this cute. Sarah speaks gently. Hello, Aquina, I'm Sarakain. She asks softly, little spirit, will you bind a contract with me? The water elemental nods happily, agreeing to Sarah's request. Sarah's heart melts, so adorable. Too cute, she says happily, wonderful. Let's work together from now on, Aquina. Zeta fumes angrily inside the candlestick. Sarah snaps back, hey, how can you be so mean to our Aquina? Sarah ignores Zeta. There are more important things now. So she walks over and pokes Aiden. Startling him, she shouts triumphantly, teacher. I succeeded. Aiden shouts excitedly. You're absolutely incredible, Sarah. This could go down in history. Sarah says smugly, didn't I say I could do it? She gloats internally, perfect. Just like that, praise me more. I'll graduate as fast as possible, ha. In the cafeteria, Sarah eats happily. I'm starving, even geniuses need to eat. Zeta urges from inside the candlestick master. Where's my medal? I want to move freely soon. And I think a dog or cat form would be best. Sarah is confused. What do you mean? Zeta explains, I need metal for my body and have to refine an animal corpse as a shell. Sarah is shocked. A corpse? You actually need a real animal corpse. Zeta acts cute, master, please. With a body I can prove I'm useful. Sarah ponders. The alchemy class does have rats. Data immediately refuses. That's not cute at all. Sarah coaxes, just make do. Suddenly a group of people comes over. Shouting, Sarah. Sarah panics. They find out about my mischief, but it's just classmates surrounding her, saying, hurry and summon the water elemental so we can see. Sarah relaxes. Oh. So they came to see Aquina. She summons Aquina and casually says, Aquina, pour me some water. Aquina nods and complies. Pouring water for Sarah, the classmates marvel. So this is a spirit, amazing. Sarah is incredible after drinking. Sarah says dramatically, wow. Better than the finest vintage wine, thanks. Sarah looks at Aquina, her heart melting. So adorable, truly. My precious baby. Aiden walks over. Sarah, after you finish eating, let's talk. Sarah wonders what's going on. After learning she has to meet the Emperor, Sarah breaks down. I should have just run away back then. She pumped herself up. I need to pull myself together or I'll lose my head. Zeta attaches to Sarah's metal collar pin and sighs ah. It's been so long since I came to the palace. Sarah is surprised you've been to the palace. Zeta recalls long ago. Back then, I ate the crown. Sarah hurriedly warns. You're not allowed to eat anything here. Zeta quietly agrees, seeing Sarah's nervousness. The headmaster comforts her. Sarah relax. Don't be afraid, Sarah replies nervously. How can I relax having to meet His Majesty so suddenly? The headmaster smiles. You don't need to be nervous. His Majesty summoned you to praise you. His Majesty thinks you're impressive and wants to meet you after all. There's never been anyone in history who could summon a spirit at age 10 at the palace entrance. Sarah gets even more nervous. We're here, I'm doomed. Ahead is the Emperor, with the highest position in the nation. He's the chosen one who rules Valen Empire, and the strongest warrior, a grandmaster swordsman, and he also seems really handsome. Sarah is instantly stunned. At this moment, the headmaster calls from the side for her to bow quickly, but she still stares directly at the Emperor. After all, everyone appreciates beauty. The Emperor speaks. You're Sarah Kane. I've heard you're exceptional. He pats Sarah's head. It's rare to see a child. I'm pleased. Sarah thinks internally, wow. How can someone be so powerful yet elegant? He is my king. Just then, Aiden kicks Sarah. She instantly snaps out of it. Right, I can't look up at the Emperor. Sarah panics. What do I do? Bow first, right? That's a bow first. She drops to her knees with a thud and kowtows. Greetings, Your Majesty. It's an honor to meet you. Both Aiden and the headmaster are stunned. The surrounding maids are too. Even the Emperor looks bewildered, clearly not expecting this. Sarah realizes so embarrassing. You don't kowtow here. Sarah awkwardly stands up, while behind her the headmaster and Aiden are shaking with suppressed laughter. The Emperor laughs first, and the atmosphere instantly relaxes. Sarah's face reddens with embarrassment. Why laugh? So obviously don't I have dignity? She wails internally. Heavens. I want to go home. Everyone's laughing at me. The headmaster smooths things over with a smile. It's Sarah's first time. She's too nervous. Please pardon her, Your Majesty. The headmaster reminds Sarah. Bow to His Majesty again properly. Don't mess up this time. Sarah straightens her posture and curtsies. Greetings. Your Majesty, I'm Sarah Kane. It's an honor to meet you. She secretly rejoices. Good. This time the greeting was perfect. The Emperor says gently, don't be nervous. Have a seat, the Emperor asks. This should be your first time attending an adult tea gathering, right? Sarah nods yes. Because I'm young, this is my first time. The Emperor is somewhat surprised. First time at 10. You should have attended tea gatherings before. Sarah explains she entered the Magic Academy very early and never had the chance. The Emperor understands. I see, that makes sense. He then tells her to try the pastries on the table. The Emperor asks again, Miss Sarah, is there anything you need at school? Feel free to tell me if you need anything. Sarah answers elegantly, the academy is wonderful. I don't lack anything. Aiden listens from the side, utterly shocked. Is this the Sarah I know? The Emperor reflects. Talent is the nation's future. Taking care of them is only proper. He promises if she has difficulties, she can tell Headmaster Marcus anytime. Sarah responds humbly. Though I still have many shortcomings, I'll continue working hard. The Emperor says with a smile, good. I can give you a reward. What would you like? Sarah is delighted. That's so generous. But what I really want is to sprint out of the Magic Academy. Then she quickly dismisses the thought. If I say that, I'll probably go straight to prison, right? The Emperor suddenly mentions, I heard your father is a baron. I can promote him to Viscount. How about that? Sarah is dumbfounded. This reward is way too big. Wait, is he testing me right now? Sarah feels helpless. But I truly have zero interest in power or politics. So she answers respectfully, thank you for the honor, Your Majesty, but this reward is too great. I cannot accept. Aiden continues to be shocked on the side. The Emperor approves. What a sensible child. But I still must give you a reward. Tell me what you'd like. Sarah ponders. A reward, it should be something special, but not make me seem greedy. Then she has a flash of inspiration. I'm the only student in the spirit binding department. Can I keep a little pet? The Emperor agrees with a smile. Since Sarah wants to keep one, I'll allow it. Sarah cheers, internally score. Acting cue really works just then. A maid nearby suddenly screams, breaking the tea gathering's tranquility. A guard reports there seems to be a snake. We'll handle it immediately. Everyone looks over, and indeed, there's a snake slowly crawling on the ground. Sarah looks at the snake thinking, poor thing of all places to wander into. She suddenly realizes, wait, a snake, so Sarah hurriedly stands up. Ah, please wait, can you give me this snake? Aiden quickly comes over to pull her back. Get back to your seat, she thinks I need this snake. So she explains with tears in her eyes. Your Majesty, though this snake startled you, it surely meant no offense. Please allow me to find a place to bury it. The Emperor muses, what a kind-hearted child. He nods in agreement. Sarah immediately smirks victoriously. The knight hands over the snake. Sarah doesn't dare take it directly. So she says, please wrap it up for me. Thank you then. She happily takes the package with the wrapped snake. Data panics from the collar pin master. You're not planning to use this. No, this is even worse than a rat in a laboratory. Sarah takes out copper coins. Copper piece is gold. Silver and several gemstones. She grumbles, why do I need to put in so many things? What a hassle. The little boy standing guard beside her urges, hey, aren't you done? Yet Sarah turns back and yells, I know that's why I asked you to keep watch. Don't space out. The boy quickly apologizes after being yelled at. Zeta says to boil it to maximum temperature. Before putting it in, timing is crucial. Sarah touches the container. It's really hot. I've gone through so much trouble to make you a body. Sarah looks at the materials before her. She feels like some kind of dark sorcerer. Zeta shouts, Master. Now quickly put the snake in. Sarah immediately complies. Here goes. Zeta follows in as well. The mana begins fusing, light flickering. The next second the snake actually comes to life. Zeta exclaims excitedly, Master. We succeeded. Sarah reaches out to pick it up, but finds she can't lift it at all. She gives up, panting. You're all grown up now. Crawl out yourself. Zeta crawls out and suggests, I'll make myself lighter. I can change to any metal's weight and hardness. Sarah's eyes light up. Really? So you can turn into diamond too? Zeta nods, yeah. As long as I absorb diamond. Sarah is speechless, I know it. Zeta whines, what's wrong? Right now, I can only use powers from what I've absorbed. Zeta adds, actually, as long as there's mana. It's fine at Master's current level. Sarah understands, in other words. We need lots of mana. She suddenly remembers, right? You're a pet snake, you need decoration. She pulls out a ribbon. Zeta protests in alarm. I'm a boy. Sarah changes her mind. How about a bell then? Bell snake, Zeta immediately replies. The ribbon's fine under a large tree. Sarah sighs. Nora, beside her, asks, why are you sighing? Something on your mind? Sarah sits up and complains. I want to go out and have fun. Staying at school all day is so boring. She thinks staying at school all the time. It's inconvenient to collect metals and gemstones. Nora also sighs. I see. Actually, I've been pretty troubled lately too. Sarah is surprised. You. What about? Nora explains. Our class has a warehouse, specifically for storing experimental metals. Sarah's eyes brighten. Huh? There's such a place. How come I've never heard of it? Nora says helplessly, yeah, but a thief got in yesterday. All the metal disappeared overnight, and there were several tons. How did they even steal it all? Sarah feels guilty. Really? She mutters to herself, I think I know who the thief is. I didn't expect Zeta to work so fast. No wonder it's gotten pudgier lately. Nora says she's so upset. She hopes Sarah can summon Aquina to comfort her. Sarah feels helpless. Nora whines playfully. It's just so adorable, Sarah admits. It's indeed very cute, all right. I'll summon it. She summons Aquina. Nora exclaims, whoa, Aquina. So beautiful is it, the water. That makes it sparkle so much in the daylight. Sarah thinks to herself. She bonded with Aquina 2 months ago, and now she can only summon it for 20 minutes. In that sense, Zeta is much more convenient, since summoning it requires no mana. Nora asks curiously, Sarah, the low-level water elemental is called Aquina. But what about the others? Sarah answers mid-level ones are called Wendan, and high-level ones are called Dalen. My goal is a high-level spirit, though there are supreme-level spirits, and supreme spirits humans can't reach this. She lies down, but honestly, what I really want is to become filthy rich. The actually rich Nora teases Sarah. Your dream is so small, Sarah retorts. Small money is amazing, Nora replies. But you can't buy spirits with money. Sarah immediately counters. Then you can just buy spirit binders. Suddenly amplified, magic echoes report to the assembly hall immediately. She gets up and sighs ugh. Morning assembly, it's made for skipping. With that she slips away. But soon after, Sarah is caught and dragged back by Aiden. She's frustrated, just my luck. Still got caught, the principal walks onto the stage. All right, everyone. Quiet down, Sarah mutters in the crowd. And I still got dragged here anyway. The principal announces. The once-a-decade Starfall Festival is approaching. The Starfall Festival is a joint magic competition, hosted by 5 nations, meant to promote unity among countries. Sarah grumbles unity. It's clearly just a ranking contest, to see whose country is best. Totally pointless, I'd rather go home and lie down. The principal announces now. I'll reveal the 20 students from Morningstar Academy, who will compete. Those selected must give their all. For the nation's honor. After saying this, he actually winks at Sarah. Sarah instantly has a bad feeling. At this moment, Nora says excitedly that the principal called her name. Making a name in the tournament is a huge honor, but Sarah thinks being a stepping stone for others. Where's the honor in that? Sarah asks, is the tournament combat? You're going to fight, Nora answers. I'm a top student, so of course I'm doing the quiz competition. She explains that combat is for the magic and swordsmanship departments. It has nothing to do with her. Nora says all the continental geniuses will be there. Even the Empire's genius Robin. And Padre if you beat him. You're the best on the continent. That's a total life turnaround. How cool is that hearing this? Sarah thinks. There are way too many geniuses on this continent. The competition is too fierce. At this point, the principal continues reading the participants' names. Sarah zones out. Boiler, Alan, Pete. There are commoner students in the magic class. The principal reads, last from his spirit binding class. Sarah Kane. Sarah is stunned. What? Why me? Nora pulls Sarah excitedly. Let's go up. We're representing the Magic Academy. Sarah struggles. How am I supposed to fight people as a spirit binder? One punch from the combat department, and I'm done for. Sarah shouts at the teacher. Is there some mistake? I'm doing the quiz right. The teacher says cheerfully, Sarah, you're in the combat tournament. Do your best. Sarah breaks down. Do my best. Aquina is such a sweet little thing. It can't fight. A few days later, Sarah boards a carriage heading to the competition. Inside the carriage, she frantically flips through books. Studying water elemental attack magic. She throws the book and roars. What is going on? Low-level water elementals only have 6 spells, and only one can hurt people. I'm so fragile. Why do I have to compete in combat? Sarah feels even worse. Nora got sick and can't come, so she doesn't even have company. A night reminds her miss. It's noontime to eat. As she waits in line for food, she thinks. The journey from Valen to Astra takes 3 months. By carriage, fortunately, she can eat, drink, and sleep on the carriage. Her specialties plus the food is really good. At this moment, people gossip. Look over there. That's the one who got in by sucking up to His Majesty. They mock what use our spirits if we lose. It's all her fault. Sarah bristles. Have you even seen my Aquina? It's so adorable. Then she feels guilty. She just can't guarantee a win. Sarah thinks to herself, sigh. She's gotten used to these stares since being chosen. Sarah feels wronged. I didn't want to come either. His Majesty personally selected me. Sigh if you must blame me. Then blame me for being too charming. At this moment, Zeta shouts, Master. Can I absorb that? Sarah asks. There's something here you can eat. Zeta points over there, that knight's sword. It's excited. That smell is star metal. There's not much, but I want it. Sarà diffusis no. That belongs to someone, Zeta asks. Then should I kill him and take the sword? Sarah is shocked. Are you serious? Were you an evil spirit before? Zeta protests, of course not. Then Sarah says quietly, see those students up ahead? Zeta asks those brats. What about them? Sarah grins mischievously. They talk badly about me. Go steal their stuff. Zeta is confused but willing. Didn't you just say, I can't eat things that belong to people? Sarah answers theirs. You can accept the carriage. Eat everything else afterwards. She hears people exclaim and feels secretly pleased. Serves you right. That's what you get for bad-mouthing me at night. Sarah rubs her eyes. So noisy, what's going on outside? Zeta crawls out and says it'll go check. At this moment, Zeta crawls back, shouting urgently, Master. Monsters are attacking us. Sarah is shocked. Mom, monsters. Sarah and Zeta secretly peek outside. She gasps, whoa. So those are orc warriors. Zeta says, Master. They're not that dangerous. Don't be afraid, it shouts again, Master. Look over there. Sarah looks over. Over there is she sees that knight. But Zeta is looking at his sword. Sarah is speechless. You're still thinking about that sword. Sarah asks, is he injured? Zeta answers, looks like he's about to die. Sarah is exasperated. It's just an arm injury. If he won't die, you want him to die. Don't you? Sarah gets dressed and compromises fine. Go get the sword first. This is the perfect chance to test magic attacks. She was just about to experiment, so their timing is perfect. Sarah opens the door and plans. She'll sneak up to the knight and quietly attack those orc warriors. Zeta asks expectantly, so can I eat the star medal? Sarah agrees, but you can only eat one. Now goes Zeta. Sarah runs outside. Sarah frowns and covers her nose. The smell of blood is so strong. She summons Aquina. The water elemental appears immediately. Sarah is charmed again. Oh my. Aquina is so cute today too. She becomes serious. All right then. Target confirmed. Prepare to use magic. Sarah asks Aquina, let's use water blast. Can you do it? The spirit follows her instruction and begins casting magic. Sarah realizes. So this is compressed water. Will this actually hurt anyone? Sarah commands Aquina, throw the water blast over there. The water blast slowly flies over. It hits an orc warrior who just turns around. Sarah is surprised, no damage at all. Is this really an attack spell? Aquina says quietly, sorry, Master. Sarah is puzzled, huh? Did I just hear a voice? Aquina. Aquina responds, yes, Master. Sarah is delighted, oh my. I thought you couldn't speak. Aquina says softly now. A little bit because I love Master so much. Sarah dots on it and immediately hugs it. They say it takes 1 to 2 years to talk with spirits. My Aquina is a genius at this moment. A knight comes over shouting, it's dangerous here, get back to the carriage. Sarah looks around, it seems quieter now. Is it all over? The knight says urgently. You can't be out here, go back. Sarah recognizes him. That's the owner of the star metal sword. She explains well. You caught the orc warriors anyway. Don't you need water to treat wounds? She summons Aquina. The spirit immediately fills the bucket with water. The knight is confused. What was that just now? Was that magic Sierra objects? It's not, that's Aquina. A spirit, it's different from magic. The knight thanks her anyway. Thank you at this moment. Zeta crawls over carrying the sword in its mouth. It gently places the sword at the knight's feet. Sarah says, this is your sword, right? This is my pet snake. I told it to bring it over. The knight asks, why did you help me? Sarah answers innocently, why? My teacher said good deeds don't need reasons. Zeta says triumphantly, Master. I replaced the star metal in the sword with alloy. Sarah praises it, well done. It continues, but I ate all the star metal in the sword. Sarah has a massive headache. I told you to absorb just a tiny bit of star metal. At this moment, the knight says gratefully, this sword is a family heirloom. Thank you. Sarah waves her hand guiltily. No need to thank me with that. She hurries away. 20 days later. Everyone finally arrives at the outskirts of Crestfall. Sarah pushes open the dormitory door and cheers. Finally at the dorm. But the dormitory is completely empty. Zeta asks Master has a room to herself. But this is clearly a double room. Sarah is helpless. What can I do? No one wants to room with me. She lies down besides. Isn't having a double room to myself better? Zeta crawls over to comfort her master. Cheer up, you still have me. Sarah retorts, stubbornly shut up. Don't comfort me, Zeta helplessly states the truth. But you're clearly being isolated. Sarah tosses and turns. She slept too much on the carriage, and now can't fall asleep at all. She sits up and calls to Zeta. Let's go for a walk. Sarah closes the door and heads to the corridor. The moment she steps out, someone stops her. Professor Blake from the combat class roars, wait. Where are you going? He comes over to question her. Who gave you permission to go out? She thinks to herself. This professor already disliked her because of Leo's situation. Now she's being targeted. At this moment, Professor Alera comes to her rescue. I recall that any student can go out, as long as they're accompanied by a knight. Professor Blake is embarrassed. Oh, is that so? Ha ha, blame my bad memory. I forgot about that. He immediately changes his tone. Sarah, you wanted to go out just now. Sarah internally grumbles. So cringy, old fool. Don't play gentleman in front of Professor Alera. Professor Alera smiles and invites Sarah. Would you like to stay in my room? Sarah glances at Professor Blake's unpleasant expression. She then throws herself into Professor Alera's arms. Playfully, if I feel lonely, I'll come find you at night. With that, she looks provocatively at Professor Blake, whose face is full of envy and jealousy. Sarah goes downstairs, thinking she needs to find the knight commander first. She ponders the most arrogant person here is. Her gaze locks onto someone with his feet propped on the table. Sarah is certain that's him. She walks over quickly, ready to state her business. The knight commander asks, so, which class are you from? Sarah answers. Spirit binding. The commander can't help but chuckle. Spirit binding, then I'll need to assign you 2 knights. After all, you spirit binders are so fragile. Can't even protect yourselves. Sarah is irritated. She mutters quietly, disgusting. Unexpectedly, the commander hears her. The commander demands, what did you just say? Did you just call me disgusting? Sarah plays innocent. How could I say something like that? You must have misheard. Is it because too many people call you disgusting that you misunderstood? The commander roars, enough. Is this how you speak to your elders? Don't take me for a fool at this moment. Those 2 knights are brought over. Sarah looks over, These 2 knights are, why do they look so familiar? The knights introduce themselves as Harvey and Finn. The commander says sarcastically from behind, if you mind that they're commoner knights, you can choose not to go out. Sarah ignores him and suddenly remembers, I remember, now you're the knights from last night. The commander is puzzled. You've met. But they're commoners, Sarah replies. Then they must be very skilled. It's several times harder for commoners to become knights than nobles. The commander is hit where it hurts and gets angry. Are you insulting nobles now? Sarah counters, praising commoners is insulting nobles. Your logic is truly strange. She's impatient. Stop talking. I didn't come here to listen to a pathetic old man's nonsense. The commander is furious. How dare you call me that? Sarah emphasizes, yes. People like you are pathetic old men. She even repeats it, pathetic old man. With a she turns and leaves. The commander trembles with rage, as people around can't help but laugh. The commander roars, which bastard is laughing? After Sarah leaves, she thinks him so infuriating. She keeps running into people like this today. She calls to Zeta. Zeta immediately responds, yes. I understand. I'll go steal everything from that knight commander. Right now I'll be off then. With that, it crawls away. Sarah finally exits through the door. The 2 knights see this and immediately follow, not daring to slack off in the slightest. On the street, Sarah asks him, can you let me browse alone? Harvey answers, you're a noble. How can you go out without knights? Sarah looks around. What's wrong with this place? And why are they making way for me? At this moment, Sarah accidentally bumps into someone. The other person immediately dodges. She thinks they're even afraid of a noble kid like her. Sarah is troubled, but the biggest problem right now is They keep following me. How am I supposed to browse? The moment she decides to slip away, the knights lift her up. Harvey says helplessly, "Miss, wherever you want to go will accompany you." Finn says quietly, "Miss, are you doing this because you don't want to be protected by commoners?" Like us, his tone carries disappointment. Sarah looks completely confused. She quickly explains, "It's not because you're commoners. I just don't want to be followed all the time." Harvey becomes anxious, but right now the Stingers are rioting. It's very dangerous. Sarah is puzzled. The Stingers, what's that? Harvey explains, it's an anti-noble group. The Stingers are commoners who extremely hate nobles and exclusively kill them. He adds they want to create a world without nobles. They think killing enough nobles will accomplish that. Sarah scoffs, "What kind of logic is that? Without nobles, wouldn't they just become nobles themselves? Besides, she finally got to come out. How unlucky would she have to be to run into them?" Sarah visits the general store, the weapon shop, and the bookstore, but finds nothing she wants to buy. She comes to the street and sees a fruit. She asks curiously, "What's this?" The knight answers, "This is a red berry that commoners often eat." Sarah says she wants to try it. The fruit vendor answers, "Then I'll wrap up 3 for you." Sarah takes them and starts searching for her wallet to pay. She searches for a long time, then freezes up. "I didn't bring my wallet." The knights start frantically searching too. Seeing this, Sarah just starts eating. The taste is pretty good. The knights don't find any money either, making the situation even more awkward. Seeing the vendor's face darken, Sarah thinks, what now? Is it too late to spit it out? The vendor sees this and sighs. "You seem pitiful enough. I'll give you these red berries." Sarah and the others thank him and leave awkwardly, so embarrassing as she walks. She asks Zeta, who has returned, "By the way, Zeta, how old are you exactly?" Zeta thinks. "In human years, I think I'm about 12,000 years old." Sarah is shocked. "What? You're over 10,000 years old." Zeta nods. "Yeah. I'm considered elderly among spirits. Most spirits gradually fade away after a few thousand years." Zeta suddenly shouts, "Master." Sarah is startled. "What now?" "Stop startling me." Zeta points over there, the stall in front of the market exit. "Go check it out." Sarah is puzzled. "That stall set up by a kid?" Zeta answers yes. Sarah runs over, curious. What over there that could make Zeta so excited? Sarah arrives at the stall and examines the items. "Is all this just junk?" Zeta objects. "No. That's the scent of a spirit core." The boy speaks nervously. Welcome." His voice carries fear. Zeta's eyes suddenly light up. "Ah." That's it. It points to a yellow gemstone on the stall. Sarah picks up the yellow gemstone. She asks Zeta, "You're saying there's a spirit inside?" "What kind of spirit?" Zeta responds. "Its aura is too weak. I'm not quite sure. Seems like a lightning elemental." Sierra is instantly thrilled. Lightning elemental. Water conducts electricity perfectly. It's an ideal match for Aquina. Zeta explains there isn't actually a spirit inside. It's a channel to summon spirits. Sarah asks, like a summoning circle scroll. Zeta nods. "Yeah. Similar function." Zeta reminds her. "Can't guarantee you'll summon a spirit. Not all spirits like humans." Sarah is determined to buy this. She asks the boy how much. The boy swallows nervously, truly unsure how much to charge. Sarah turns to Finn. "Finn, can you go back and get my bag for me?" She calculates in her mind. Next, she needs to properly ask the boy where this gemstone came from. Sarah asks the boy, "Do you know where you got this?" The boy panics. "Ah, it's just a pretty stone." He shakes his head frantically to defend himself. "I really didn't steal it." As he shakes his head, his other blind eye is revealed. The boy realizes this and covers his eye with his hair. "Afraid of scaring people," Sarah says gently. "You didn't scare me. I'm just asking where you got this." The boy stammers and can't speak. The situation becomes tense. Harvey sees this and reveals his sword. The boy becomes even more panicked. He cries out, "I'm innocent. My father found it while gathering herbs in the mountains. Father found this stone in that book, so he brought them both back." Sarah picks up the book nearby, hoping to find clues. The boy says hurriedly, "I just wanted to sell the stone. To buy medicine for my parents. Sarah opens the book and sees the first page reads, "My name is Edwin. I'm a spirit binder." She surprised an old master. Sarah flips directly through the book. Thinking conclusions are usually on the last page. She looks at the densely written text and freezes. The content is heavy, it reads. A dark world is slowly approaching. I'm so afraid after the gods. Even the spirits have abandoned humanity. Fewer and fewer humans can summon spirits. After extensive research, he created 29 summoning circles. Sarah realizes it seems. The systematized summoning circles currently in use were created with his involvement. She continues reading. People don't know the value of spirits. Many don't value spirit binders. I've decided to resign from the Spirit Council, and I'll bury what I've created in my homeland, waiting for future generations to discover them. Reading this, Sarah realizes there's more than one spirit core, and they're incredibly powerful. Natural elemental spirit cores. So she presses the boy. Do you have another stone like this? The boy says quietly there were originally two. My father took the other one to a jewelry store to sell. But the people at the jewelry store took the stone and beat my father. Sarah shouts angrily, what? How dare they steal what's mine? Bandits, they just robbed him. Finn runs over, holding the bag with injuries on his face. Looking disheveled, Sarah is shocked. How did fetching a bag leave your face swollen? Finn hands over the bag. I made a small mistake and was punished. He explains I rushed upstairs and didn't salute the commander in the dining hall. So I was beaten. Sarah grumbles. I'm curious, when you choose a commander, do you not consider character? She doesn't dwell on this. She asks the boy, where is that crooked shop? I'll go get the other one back. The boy hurriedly tries to stop her. You can't. Darkstone Jewelers is too dangerous. Sarah understands. Oh, Darkstone Jewelers, right. She teases, looks like you should go to school. Silly boy, you can't keep a secret. Sarah takes out gold coins here. Payment for the 2 stones in the book. You need it, right? The boy is shocked at this. It's too much, miss. I can't accept this much, Sarah says with a smile. Well, since you didn't set a price, of course I can give however much I want. The knights persuade 10 gold coins is too much. Isn't it? That's enough for a family to live on for a year. Sierra is indifferent. I've been at the academy all along. I get 1 gold coin allowance per month and have nowhere to spend it. The knights are dumbfounded. They're also devastated. Our salary is only pathetically small. Sarah tells the boy, take that money and buy more bread. Take your father to the sanctum for treatment. She adds, if there's money left over, go to school, it'll be very useful to you. Sarah waves, all right. Take care, I'm going to find the spirit core. The group arrives at Darkstone Jewelers. Sarah looks around. Is this it? It's quite large. She asks Zeta, well, do you sense a spirit core inside? It says confidently, he. Leave it to me, I'm a professional. Then begins to act. Finn suddenly asks, Posido, miss. The snake escaped, Sarah explains. It didn't escape, I told it to fetch something. The knights breathe a sigh of relief. Good that you're not going into a dangerous place. But what do we do now, Sarah says. Let's just wait here for Zeta. Zeta isn't good at much else, but it's great at stealing. For now, I'll finish reading the rest of the journal to pass the time after a long while. Sarah starts to worry, why has Zeta been gone so long? She shouts for Zeta and runs over. Suddenly, she hears Zeta's voice from inside. Ugh. You humans, let me go. She pushes open the door and sees Zeta caught by people inside. She shouts angrily, Zeta. These guys actually. The swordsman holding Zeta asks, little girl, who are you? His tone is very dismissive. Sarah shouts furiously, let go of that snake. I should be asking you that question. Who are you? The swordsman is surprised. Your snake didn't expect this snake to have an owner. Zeta shouts, emotionally, I knew you'd come save me. Sarah says domineeringly, I'm its dad. I'm the only one who gets to bully it. Zeta is speechless. Don't take advantage like that. Master. Sarah sizes up the people before her. 2 swordsmen and 1 archer. They must be the jewelry store bandits. The boy mentions suddenly. A swordsman stomps hard on Zeta. Zeta cries out in pain on Master. The swordsman stares at Sarah, his tone mocking look at you. Acting tough, you're a noble, right? He continues mockingly, a noble lady keeping a snake. What a disgusting hobby. The knight immediately blocks in front of Sarah. I'm warning you, show respect. Return the snake, now, Sarah echoes. That's right, give it back. The swordsman raises an eyebrow. Brought knights, a noble's order. The situation is different now. The moment he finishes speaking, the swordsman draws his sword and thrusts straight at Zeta. Sara screams no Zeta. The swordsman is surprised to see Zeta isn't dead, or still alive. Let me cut it in half and return it to you. Sarah thinks to herself, Zeta isn't an ordinary snake, or would have been cut in half already. This person is so cruel. This is her first time encountering someone like this. Sarah suddenly becomes alert. Could these people be Stinger's members? She shouts to Zeta, get over here, use as much mana as you want. Zeta takes the opportunity to break free. It slithers towards Sarah's success. Check out my slippery moves. Suddenly an arrow flies in, blocking Zeta's path. The atmosphere becomes even more tense. The next arrow grazes past Sarah. The knights see this and immediately rush forward to fight the swordsman and archer. Sarah's heart tightens. He still remembers the fear of near death very clearly. But now there's also unprecedented anger. He actually wanted to kill her. Zeta's voice comes through Master. Please allow me to use mana again. Sarah asks darkly Zeta. What can you do for me? Zeta answers. As long as Master permits. I can do anything Sarah orders. Then get revenge for me. Zeta immediately responds. As you command. It quickly wraps around the swordsman's arm. A crisp crack is heard. The swordsman screams it hurts. Please let me go. Sarah sees this and shouts enough. Zeta immediately stops. Sarah is dazed. Did she just want him to die? Her heart is full of panic. Zeta comes over seeking praise. Master. I did well, right? That swordsman recovers and draws his sword. Roaring, bitch, I'll kill you. Before he finishes speaking, Harvey decapitates him. Sarah freezes in shock. The archer is also quickly killed by Finn. Sarah trembles in fear. No, I didn't want this. At this moment, she turns and sees a crowd gathered outside. The crowd whispers, their eyes filled with fear, as if they want to devour her. Sarah is so frightened. Her whole body goes stiff, and she feels dizzy. When she wakes again, she's back at the dormitory. Zeta comforts Master. They were going to die eventually. They just died a bit early. Sarah sits up. I'm not upset about the dead. I don't like people dying because of me. Zeta, I can't understand. We spirits have no concept of death. Sarah asks, then spirits. She was about to say reincarnation. Her tongue freezes again. Sarah thinks to herself. Every time she tries to talk about her past life, something stops her. She wonders, did something go wrong for her to be born here? Logically, she shouldn't have memories of a past life. She rolls around on the bed irritably. Why do weird things always happen to me? Zeta suddenly sniffs Master. Something smells. Bernard exclaims, Master. It's your bag. Sarah panics. What's going on? How did this happen? My money. Zeta speculates. Seems like the lightning elemental. Seems like it wants to be summoned. She hurriedly reminds the lightning elemental to calm down because everything around is wooden and could catch fire. Sarah is troubled about how to summon it, since there's no spell or summoning circle. Zeta tells Sarah she just needs to hold the spirit core in her hand and inject mana. Sarah is speechless. Won't that burn me? Medium rare. Zeta quickly explains it's a misunderstanding. Sarah looks at the scorched wall and is even more afraid to touch it. So she picks up a shoe nearby. Fortunately, she can inject mana through the shoe without directly touching the spirit core. But why does this natural, elemental spirit absorb such an astonishing amount of mana? The shoe suddenly heats up. Sarah hurts so much she quickly flings it away. Sarah pants and asks if it's enough. The surroundings instantly become quiet. Sarah sees Zeta and teases that its body looks cool and wants to hold it. Zeta hurriedly refuses, saying it's made of metal and afraid of heat, but still falls victim at this moment. A voice suddenly demands a name. It's the lightning elemental starting to speak. Sarah is very surprised and sees something slowly emerging from the spirit core. Sarah tentatively asks if what emerged is the lightning elemental. The lightning elemental confirms. It also says it reluctantly accepts Sarah as its master and tells her to give it a name. Sarah is surprised. The lightning elemental is even more arrogant than her. She says, "What if I refuse?" The lightning elemental says angrily, "I've lowered myself, and you dare refuse. My status among lightning elementals is the highest." Before it finishes, Sarah interrupts and tells it to leave. Even Zeta can't help but mock the lightning elemental. The lightning elemental angrily questions Zeta. "What gives you the right to laugh at me?" Zeta says proudly that it's Sarah's first alloy spirit. Named Zeta, the lightning elemental dismissively says, "It's never heard of alloy spirits. Must be some low-level minion." Zeta instantly bristles, "I'm your ancestor." Sarah has a headache from them arguing. If she bonds with the lightning elemental, it'll be even noisier. So she plans to send back the lightning elemental and find another spirit. Zeta suddenly shouts. The spirit core shattered. Sarah is shocked. She hurriedly asks Zeta if it can be fixed. Zeta helplessly says no. Sarah understands. This means she can only bond with this lightning elemental now. The lightning elemental grinned smugly. "Fine, I suppose I can give you another chance." Sarah thought for a moment before agreeing to form the contract. But she had one condition. The lightning elemental was shocked that Sarah dared to negotiate. "You should be eternally grateful." Sarah pretended not to hear and cut off the mana supply. The lightning elemental rushed to stop her. No, wait. "We can talk about this," Sarah said. The condition was simple. The lightning elemental had to name itself. The lightning elemental was shocked. "Spirits don't name themselves." "I refuse," Zeta suddenly suggested. The sound of electricity goes zap zap. "So why not call it Zappy?" The lightning elemental quickly stopped him. "Wait. I'll name myself," the lightning elemental whimpered. "I waited 8,000 years for this chance, only to be disrespected by my master. Just call me lightning elemental." Then sob, it even started crying pitifully. Sarah softened and suggested calling it Edwin. The lightning elemental agreed to the name and asked what Sarah's name was. Sarah told the spirit, "I'm Sarah King." She then urged the spirit to return to the spirit realm, saying she was out of mana. The lightning elemental reminded Sarah to summon it. In the future, Sarah agreed and said goodbye. Sarah breathed a sigh of relief and clapped her hands. Finally, some peace and quiet. She felt that after all that chaos, it wasn't so bad. Her previous worries had disappeared. Then something suddenly occurred to her. My ancient book. She rushed over. She picked up the charred book and cried out, "This is a 1,000-year-old spirit binder codex." The next second it crumbled to ash in Sarah's hands. Sarah said painfully that she had bought the book for 10 gold coins. She clutched her head and wailed, "Why am I so cursed with bad luck?" The next day, Zeta slapped Sarah awake, reminding her about dawn mana training. Sarah was exhausted and grabbed Zeta's tail, refusing to get up. Then she suddenly remembered the goal she had set last night. Reluctantly, she got up. Sarah opened the window and complained, "Why does mana training have to be at dawn? I didn't even want to get stronger that badly." Zeta reasoned with her, "But master, you don't want to be too weak, do you?" "Of course not. That would hurt my pride with that." She sat down. She began trying to sense the mana around her and absorb it for her own use. She concentrated and felt that mana was sometimes wild, sometimes gentle like an elusive blue ocean. Sarah thought to herself, "Maybe this is why I like Aquinas so much." After training, Sarah asked Zeta how long it took. Zeta answered around 30 minutes. Sarah sighed. The time hadn't shortened. She climbed to the window and felt the morning sun, her mood lifting slightly. She suggested going back to sleep, but Zeta reminded her they had to continue traveling today. So Sarah and the others set off on their journey again. That evening, Sarah was eating dinner in her carriage. Zeta, suddenly, said someone was approaching the carriage. Sarah wondered who it was. A pink-haired girl opened the carriage door directly and greeted her cheerfully. Both Sarah and Zeta were startled. "Who are you? How can you just barge into my carriage?" The girl didn't care and moved closer, asking why Sarah was eating alone in the carriage. She then handed over a gift box. Sarah immediately recognized the packaging and was somewhat surprised. The girl said she knew Sarah liked sweets and brought her a gift. Sarah immediately took the box. "Then make yourself at home." Opening the box to find cacao confections, Sarah was even more delighted. These were incredibly precious in this world. The girl introduced herself as Ivy, saying her family makes cacao confections. Sarah instantly understood. This was the person Nora was always jealous of. Ivy said she had many questions. Sarah told her to ask while she ate. And once the food was gone, "No more answers," Ivy suggested. "What if I give you a few more boxes?" Sarah immediately changed her tune. "Then I'm available anytime." Ivy sat down and asked, "Did you actually see the stingers? How did you survive? And your snake isn't ordinary. Is it a rare diamond python?" Sarah said, while eating, that she didn't know about diamond pythons. But Zeta's body was indeed very hard. Ivy excitedly said she had experimented by slashing Zeta with a knife. The knife broke, but the snake was fine. Sarah was shocked you used a knife on Zeta. Ivy said calmly yes, but Zeta was completely unharmed. Amazing. Sarah suddenly understood why Zeta had mysteriously disappeared. Just then, the curfew bell rang. Ivy got up and said goodbye. Sarah bid her farewell in a daze. She had no idea what just happened. She went to get her blanket. "I'm exhausted. I'm definitely better off alone." Sarah suddenly remembered. She forgot to use the bathroom, but the chamber pot in the carriage. She really couldn't bring herself to use it, so she went outside alone. She summoned Edwin and had him light the way. Then they set off together. However, on the way back, Sarah got lost and asked Edwin if they were going the right way. Edwin said navigation wasn't his specialty. Sarah complained that Zeta always knew the way. Edwin bristled. "Finding the way is easy. Follow me this way. I'm sensing heat sources." After walking for a while, Sarah wondered why the path was getting darker, and there were strange sounds, like the sound of an orc warrior. She turned around. It really is an orc." Edwin chimed in. "That's right, that's the heat I was sensing." Sarah immediately turned and ran, shouting, "Don't chase me. I haven't bathed. I taste terrible." She turned to Edwin and shouted, "Don't just watch, attack it." Edwin teased Divine Thunder would handle this small fry, but unfortunately Master can't use it. Sarah was furious and frantic. "You're mocking me at a time like this." She immediately summoned Aquina, who appeared. Sarah quickly ordered Aquina to attack the orc with Water Blast. The water orb flew straight toward the orc. Sarah stared at the orc nervously, wondering if the attack worked. To her surprise, the orc laughed and said it felt refreshing. Aquina apologized to Sarah with a tearful voice. Sarah immediately went into full sprint mode and told Edwin to unleash his strongest attack within her mana range. Edwin immediately launched Lightning Storm, causing a thunderous explosion behind them. Sarah looked at the fallen orc and wondered if it was dead. Edwin explained that the orc had only passed out. Sarah was relieved that the orc had been soaked earlier, making it easier to conduct electricity. She sighed helplessly. She had only come out to use the bathroom and ended up in this mess. Edwin asked smugly, "Master, are you amazed by my power?" Sarah flatly said she wanted to cancel the contract. Edwin was shocked the contract couldn't be canceled. Sarah fumed, "You nearly got me killed. Cancel it, we must cancel it." Aquina quickly tried to calm them down, but then the ORC suddenly woke up with a roar. Sarah went into panic mode again, backing away repeatedly in her panic. She suddenly stepped into nothing and fell backward. She plummeted down a cliff. She thought desperately, "Am I going to die like this?" No, she quickly called for Aquina to use Aqua Shield. Aquina immediately complied. The spirit formed a water barrier around Sarah, and she finally fell into the water. Sarah breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, she had learned this spell beforehand. She remembered Edwin had been sent back, and her mana was nearly depleted. She had to get out quickly. She asked Aquina if she could bring the water barrier to the surface. Aquina said it was difficult, but she'd try her best, then began controlling the water shield. The water barrier carried Sarah to the surface. Sarah immediately prepared to use Water Walk, to step on the water surface. She sensed her mana was only at 20, with only 10 usable time was running out. Just then, Aquina suddenly pointed and shouted about a waterfall. Sarah immediately headed toward the waterfall and quickly reached its base. She asked Aquina if she could propel her to the top of the waterfall. Aquina said yes, so she used water pressure to launch Sarah upward. Sarah quickly grabbed onto the cliff rocks. She asked Aquina to use her power once more, to help her up. Aquina said she was out of mana and vanished. Mid-sentence, Sarah cried out, "What do I do now?" She forced herself to stay calm, thinking her mana would recover some in 3 hours. But I don't train physically. I can't hold on for even an hour. Just then Zeta suddenly appeared, asking if Sarah was playing around. Sarah was thrilled to see Zeta. "Oh my God, Zeta, you look extra adorable right now." Sarah said she was in danger, and told Zeta to pull her up quickly, or go provoke someone and bring them here. Zeta immediately understood. "I'm very good at making people angry." It told Sarah to leave it to him and set off. Sarah clung tightly to the rocks, silently praying it's all up to you, Zeta. Minutes later, Zeta hurried back, saying it had brought someone. Sarah was excited. "Zeta, well done, where are they?" Zeta said they should be on the cliff looking for it. Sarah felt deflated. She wondered who would come to a cliff just for a snake. Then she called for Edwin. Edwin appeared with a flash. Sarah threatened that, if he didn't want to break the contract, he should call the people above to come down. Edwin immediately agreed and ran to the cliff top. He set off fireworks in the air, as a signal to attract people. Sarah watched the fireworks, hoping someone would notice. Just then, the people looking for the snake came over, discovered someone below, and quickly went to get a rope. Sarah heard the voices and shouted excitedly. She grabbed the rope that was thrown down. The people above pulled her up with force. After being rescued, Sarah finally breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, saved a silver-haired woman came over and exclaimed that Sarah's body was nearly frozen, her face full of concern behind her. Damien was holding Zeta and scolding it harshly. Seeing this, Sarah rushed over and hugged the woman, crying, "I thought I was going to die." The woman stroked Sarah's hair comfortingly, saying everything was fine now and not to be afraid. Damien held up Zeta and asked Sarah if this snake was hers. Sarah nodded and said its name was Zeta. The woman smiled and said Zeta had just bitten Damien's rear and ran off. It was trying to lead them here to save her. The woman introduced herself as Liliana, of the Grey Wolf Mercenaries. Sarah sniffled and said her name was Sarah, traveling with people from the Magic Academy. Liliana suggested Sarah come with them, saying the commander would probably help. Sarah was very grateful. Liliana suddenly reminded Sarah to save her snake. Sarah laughed and said it was fine. Time skipped forward. Sarah had been with the Grey Wolf Mercenaries for 2 days. She was grateful her luck had turned around. The mercenaries' destination was the same as hers. Sister Liliana was also beautiful inside and out, constantly taking care of her, so she couldn't help showering Liliana with compliments, marveling at her luck in meeting her. Liliana always smiled gently and said that since Sarah was still a child, taking care of her was only natural. However, there were also people in the group who treated her like an errand girl. Commander Grayson, who always called Sarah Brat and made her provide light. Grayson said even a brat had to earn her meals. No free loading, so Sarah summoned Edwin again. Edwin complained that if he had to be a light bulb one more time, he'd revolt. Sarah promised him free time after the work was done. Edwin was instantly delighted. Wow deal. So he worked even harder using electric light. After Edwin finished, Sarah asked if that was enough. Another member started ordering Sarah to go add water. Over there, Sarah could only summon a Quina again. She had her fill all the barrels with clean water. After finishing everything, Sarah complained about being bossed around again today. Zeta also sighed and said, "Beggars can't be choosers." Just then a burly man from the group came over and reached out his hand. He asked Sarah to lend him the snake for a bit. Sarah thought he was speaking nonsense, but Zeta nervously told her to refuse. However, Sarah thought it was better to hand him over first. So before Zeta could react, he was passed over. The burly man took Zeta and said he wanted to have a good fight with him. Soon Zeta was being one-sidedly beaten. That night in the Grey Wolf mercenary camp, Zeta, covered in bumps, was angry. "Master, you're too much. You only like a Quina. I want to be cute too." Sarah comforted Zeta, saying snakes were cute too. Then she told him not to come out and cause trouble. Sister Liliana didn't like snakes crawling on blankets. Zeta protested, "You just call me cute, and now you're changing your tune." Sarah rolled over and told Zeta to go to sleep quickly. Stop making noise. She needed a rest. Just then Zeta shouted loudly. Sarah jolted awake and asked what was wrong. Now Commander Grayson ran in, also shouting that monsters were coming, and everyone needed to get up. Liliana quickly got ready and called for Sarah to get up. She pulled her up and told her to go outside with everyone. Outside was chaotic, with everyone preparing to fight the monsters. Liliana found Sarah and told her to hide under the carriage first and run if there was danger. Before leaving, she reminded Sarah that if she was scared, she should close her eyes and absolutely not make a sound to reveal her location. Sarah obediently hid under the carriage. She could still see everyone outside fighting the orcs. She muttered to herself, "Why do I keep running into orcs? I haven't forgotten last time." Zeta explained this was actually not bad. Previous encounters were worse. He said with such a bright moan, "This was when monsters went berserk." Just then Sarah couldn't help but sneeze. As soon as she did, her heart sank. Oh no, sure enough. The orc heard the noise, turned around, and headed toward the carriage. Sarah wanted to run, but couldn't move. Her legs felt like they were nailed in place. When she opened her eyes again, she saw Zeta rush out, hissing as he coiled around the orc, telling it to get through him first. Sarah was moved, saying Zeta was loyal. She took advantage of Zeta, distracting the orc to find a safe place. She hadn't run far when she heard Zeta's pain cry. He had been thrown back by the orc. Liliana rushed over, shouting that Sarah was in danger. She tried to calm her down. Hadn't she told her to hide? Sarah was about to explain, but Commander Grayson shouted for everyone to attack together and not give the orc a chance. The warriors followed orders and attacked the orc together. Sarah found Zeta and asked if he could still fight. She urged Zeta that this was an emergency. Pretend the orc was Damien and bite hard. At the mention of Damien's name, Zeta got fired up. That bastard Damien. He was convinced, hissing that he'd handle it, and charged at the orc again. Zeta shouted as he coiled around the orc's neck and squeezed hard. Sarah quickly praised Zeta as amazing and planned to hide farther away, while the orc was restrained. Commander Grayson shouted on the battlefield, asking where the spirit binder was. Where that kid had gone, Sarah had an ominous feeling, but Grayson quickly found her and told her to help fight the monster. Sarah asked in shock if Grayson was joking. She was only a 10-year-old kid. Grayson said he wasn't joking. Physical attacks didn't work on orcs, and having spirits was better than nothing. He also said Sarah needed to earn her meals. She couldn't keep freeloading. He even challenged her, asking if she was scared. Sarah was provoked and said she'd help, but she had conditions. Grayson couldn't look down on her anymore, and he had to pay her. Grayson compromised, saying as long as Sarah contributed, he'd pay her. He told her to hurry and help. Sarah gritted her teeth and thought, if ed. She loudly summoned Aquina and Edwin. Aquina and Edwin appeared. and Sarah ordered Aquina to fire water blast at the orc. Grayson then told everyone to stand down and let the brat handle the orc. Everyone fall back. Aquina followed orders and fired water orbs that hit the ORC accurately. Sarah continued ordering Aquina to keep firing. She had to soak the ORC completely. Aquina acknowledged and increased the power, firing water jets at the ORC. The ORC was quickly drenched and became furious. It ran toward Sarah, who dodged while calling for Edwin to enter the fight. Edwin asked excitedly what to do. He was already getting excited. Sarah told Edwin to use all remaining mana for an attack. Thunder Annihilation. Edwin immediately unleashed his power. The attack striking the ORC directly. The ORC was instantly electrocuted and shrieked wildly. Sarah thought nervously, did it work? At the same time, she felt completely drained. She'd used too much mana. The orc let out a loud cry. Its body fell backward, appearing to have lost the ability to move. Everyone cheered when they saw this, saying Sarah was amazing. Ronan ran over and lifted Sarah up, asking what that lightning was. Not bad for a brat, Sarah said proudly. That was her spirit. Ronan continued praising her just then. Zeta crawled over battered and bruised. He complained pitifully that his master had forgotten him again. He looked absolutely miserable. Sarah finally noticed Zeta and rushed over to apologize, saying she had been exhausted too. She looked at Zeta's injuries in shock and asked if he'd been burned by lightning. Zeta explained he was injured when Sarah had Edwin attack. He needed to rebuild his body. Sarah immediately suggested taking this opportunity to give Zeta a more durable body, like diamond fireproof. Sarah asked how long it would take. Zeta said if just changing the appearance. It would take a week. Sarah happily decided to go with that. After all, a sparkling white snake would look better. Before long, the mercenary group reached their destination. Liliana, set ahead, was Arcadius, the capital of North, and Sarah looked carefully. She noticed powerful magic barriers on the city walls. She marveled that it was truly a nation of mages. In this world, the entire continent was divided between two great powers, Astra and Craven Kingdom. The Sidrian Empire was neutral. Sidrian had split into Valen and North End due to internal conflict. Liliana reminded Sarah to be careful when speaking. In the city, her accent had a Valen flavor. Sarah asked curiously which country Liliana was from. Liliana said she was born in the jungle. She asked if Sarah had heard of the Silver Moon clan. Sarah immediately nodded and said, of course, the Silver Moon clan was a rare and powerful people from Cadron, all wielding dual swords and having silver hair. After saying that, Sarah suddenly realized Sister Liliana was from the Silver Moon clan. Liliana praised Sarah for knowing so much. Sarah smiled and said she learned it at school. She thought to herself, wondering when she should tell Liliana she was a noble. Soon the mercenary group arrived outside the city. The city guards greeted Commander Grayson familiarly, saying it had been a long time. The guards told Grayson to follow the usual procedure. Show transport permits, mercenary badges, and cargo lists. They checked the list and asked if there were 28 mercenaries. Grayson said there was also a child who wasn't a mercenary. He pointed at Sarah and said she was separated from her companions. She was a magic school student they'd rescued along the way. He asked if Sarah could enter with them. The guard saw Sarah was a child and finally agreed to let her through if Grayson filled out a form. He said Grayson would be her guarantor. If Sarah caused trouble, he'd go to jail or pay compensation. Sarah got off the carriage and found the entry procedure simpler than expected. She'd finally entered Arcadius. This was the last checkpoint before Astra. However, she'd arrived a week early and needed to find something to pass the time. Liliana took Sarah to an inn, saying this was where the mercenaries usually stayed. Sarah excitedly asked if the inn had beds. Liliana said that despite being small, it had everything. She cheered that she could finally live normally. She wanted to bathe first, then have some milk, however. When she opened the inn door, a wave of smoke hit her face, and she quickly covered her nose. The inn was hazy and noisy. Sarah wondered if there was a fire. A fat man noticed her, his gaze sleazy. He licked his lips and greeted Sarah. Liliana immediately protected Sarah and told her to stay close. Liliana told Sarah to go upstairs and bathe. While she handled things, Sarah nodded in agreement. Liliana turned and scolded the fat man for speaking inappropriately. The man was dismissive, and they immediately started arguing. Sarah went to her room to bathe. She sighed comfortably, so nice. I can finally relax a few days later. Sarah came to Arcadius's public library, wanting to read. Unfortunately, she was now banned from entering this treasure trove of knowledge. The librarian could even recite the reasons for banning her and her identity. Sarah was on the August expedited blacklist, having entered the city under Grey Wolf Mercenaries guarantee. She was a student at Morningstar Academy in Valen. 10 years old, she had caused trouble at an inn, damaged public property, and was the instigator of a public brawl. Sarah's white snake had also trespassed into a trading company, causing a disturbance. She had also gone outside the city without permission and been chased back by 4 orcs. She was a true troublemaker. For these reasons, she was banned from the library. Sarah cried pitifully, saying she just wanted to study, and begged the librarian to make an exception. While crying and defending herself, Sarah had Aquina produce more tears. Sarah continued acting pitiful, saying how could adults be like this, pretending to be helpless. The librarian was conflicted, wanting to explain but unable to articulate. Could only sigh finally. The librarian compromised and told her to stop crying. He'd let her, and Sarah agreed on the surface, while internally praising Aquina for a job well done. Sarah thought smugly to herself, I'm just an ordinary-born actress. After finishing her reading, Sarah returned to the inn. Liliana asked how the library was. Sarah said there were many types of books, but when she got closer, she noticed everyone was packing. She asked in confusion why they were packing. Liliana touched her head apologetically and said they had to leave. Sarah asked in shock what she meant by leaving, unable to believe they were going. Commander Grayson came over and said, of course they were returning to Varos. They'd taken a new job. He added that Sarah's companions would arrive soon, and she should wait at the inn. Sarah protested, crying that they couldn't abandon her, and complained that Grayson was a heartless. Old Bachelor Grayson said angrily, this had nothing to do with being a bachelor. Because of Liliana, they'd already stayed 3 extra days for her. Sarah cried. Sadly, she wondered, was she the only one who had developed feelings for them? She was sad that she hadn't properly thanked them yet. They were parting so soon. She felt very reluctant. Sarah reminded Liliana to be sure to write to her. Liliana promised and told Sarah to enjoy the festival. She'd be cheering from afar. Sarah nodded vigorously and wished them safe travels and to live long lives. That way they could meet again in the future. On the mercenary group's carriage, Ronan reassured Liliana not to worry. Sarah would be fine. Liliana was still concerned, saying Sarah was only tend to worrying. Suddenly someone called out to Liliana, look over there, isn't that the Magic Academy's flag? Liliana saw the flag and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness Sarah won't have to wait alone. On the other side, with the Magic Academy group, the Knight Commander shouted for Harvey and Reed. He told them to stop dawdling and go process the paperwork. The two acknowledged. They complained while heading to the city gate that it was always them doing the work now. The commander was stressed about the missing student, especially since the king said he'd personally hold the commander accountable. The two were worried that Norton's procedures would be too complicated, but the city guards eagerly ran over. They urgently asked if they were from Morning Star Academy in Valen. After getting confirmation, they said, with relief, that they'd been waiting a long time. Come do the handover, Harvey said in confusion. They were here to process entry permits. There seemed to be a misunderstanding. The guard answered there was no misunderstanding. Take Sarah away, quickly, she's a little demon. He looked around saying Sarah was just here, but had disappeared, probably causing trouble again. Harvey and Reed were completely confused. Just then Sarah appeared beside the guards, calling out Harvey and Reed's names. Then she ran over with pitter-patter steps and hugged Reed tightly. She said she missed them so much. Why did they take so long? Sarah asked in confusion why. They didn't seem happy to see her. Reed then reacted saying in shock, "You're alive." Reed explained that when Sarah fell off the cliff, everyone thought she had died. Sarah apologized for worrying them. Wasn't she perfectly fine now? Harvey was so excited he was incoherent, asking how Sarah survived the raging river and got to Arcadius. And why had Sarah's snake changed color? Sarah answered mysteriously that she'd just gone on an adventure. After Sarah returned to the Magic Academy group, the commander kept interrogating her, asking why she went to the forest at night and how she survived the rapids. Sarah explained again that she'd encountered an orc while using the bathroom, and the gray wolf mercenary saved her. The commander didn't believe her, saying mercenaries were dangerous, and accusing Sarah of not understanding. How serious this was, Sarah retorted that they couldn't just leave a child to fend for herself in the forest in the end. Sarah was still scolded by the commander for over 2 hours before she could leave. She was truly annoyed, however. When she saw the food, Sarah got excited again. The luxury in is amazing. Just then, she noticed a little boy staring straight at her. Sarah heard murmuring and wondered if they were talking about her, but she quickly stopped caring. All she wanted was meat. Suddenly, someone called out to Sarah. The boy waved his arms aggressively, telling her to look at him and saying he wanted to duel her. Sarah turned around while eating bread. The boy introduced himself as Theodore, saying he had just arrived. The teachers thought she was dead and sent him instead. Sarah turned back to selecting food, saying sorry about that. She was still alive. Theodore became even more furious. He said he'd suffered so much, and Sarah had to pay for the humiliation she caused him. Sarah turned and questioned him. I nearly died along the way, and you're still looking for trouble. Do you have a death wish? Theodore quickly said that wasn't what he meant. Theodore stammered, saying, in any case, we needed a duel first. The winner would be the representative. Professor Alera rushed over, stopping Theodore and asking what he was doing. No fighting allowed. Theodore complained to Professor Alera that this was too unfair to him. Sarah said to the teacher, you heard that right, he actually wants to duel me. Ha ha, he's really biting off more than he can chew. Theodore said angrily that it was because of Sarah that he wasn't chosen. I went through so much hardship to get here. That spot should have been mine. Hearing this, Sarah suddenly thought this was a good idea. Sarah said excitedly that maybe they were thinking the same thing. Theodore asked what she meant. Sarah answered happily since he wanted so badly. You can have it. Professor Alera exclaimed that Sarah couldn't do that. Theodore said smugly he knew she was scared. He mocked her, saying Sarah was a lousy spirit binder. Spirit binders really are all cowards. Sarah thought to herself not to argue with a child. He was just a stupid blonde kid. Forget I can't take it anymore. You're asking for it, brat. Theodore also shouted back defiantly. Tension rose between them, but the next second Theodore suddenly vomited. Sarah was instantly disgusted. She complained that Theodore had the nerve to call her weak. This was really killing her appetite, so she decided to take less food. The next day, in the cafeteria, Theodore came to find Sarah again, saying he wanted to duel her. The winner would get the competition spot. He also told Sarah to control her snake. Sarah said only knights duel, and it was Theodore's blessing. That Zeta wanted to play with him. Just then the combat class teacher scolded Sarah, asking how she could let a snake near classmates. Sarah was speechless. How did they? Call over. Both the combat teacher and the knight commander. Zeta crawled back. Sarah said he didn't even bite Theodore. She adds that Rai won't attack anyone without her permission. And besides, Theodore threatened her first. The Knight Commander smirks and asks Sarah if she heard correctly. She doesn't want to compete. Sarah doesn't answer immediately. Rai suddenly speaks up, warning Sarah not to fall for their tricks. He overheard their scheme. They were going to be punished because of her disappearance. Now, they want to pin all the blame on her. The commander continues saying, if Sarah wants to compete with Theodore for the spot, he can serve as the judge. Sarah immediately refuses, saying there's no way. She'll hand it over to someone like Theodore. Theodore mocks her, asking if running away is a tradition among mages. Sarah angrily corrects him she's a spirit binder. Theodore dismisses it, saying it's all the same, and even makes a mocking face. Theodore puts on his iron gauntlets and suggests that since she's so worked up, they should settle this once and for all. Sarah finally agrees. She doesn't like being looked down on. She picks up a jar as her weapon. While she doesn't enjoy fighting, she hates losing even more. The two move to the makeshift arena, created by clearing away the dining tables. Theodore urges Sarah to grab a weapon. So the duel can begin. Sarah says she already has one. Theodore laughs, calling it just an ordinary water jar. You fool. Sarah says he'll soon find out who the real fool is, then calls out for Aquina. Aquina appears at her summons, awaiting her master's command. Sarah tells Theodore to take a good look. This is something rare, you idiot. The crowd erupts into noisy chatter. Someone recognizes it as a water elemental and gasps in amazement. Theodore becomes even more furious, shouting that Sarah dares to underestimate him. Without waiting for the judge to signal the start, he raises his iron fist and charges forward. Seeing this, the Knight Commander quickly shouts, begin. Sarah immediately commands Aquina to use water prison. The water jar instantly floats into the air as water surges out from within. It blocks Theodore's swinging fist, preventing him from getting closer. Theodore is completely caught off guard, confused about what kind of spell this is. The next second, water wraps around his head, cutting off his air. Sarah explains that this is Aqua's shield, used in reverse, an offensive technique. Someone in the crowd protests, shouting that Sarah is being too underhanded. Sarah retorts that spirit binders fight with spirits. Should she use her fists instead? At that moment, Theodore drops to his knees with a heavy thud. He frantically slams his head against the ground, trying to break free from the water's grip. But it's useless. Sarah watches and thinks to herself, it's pointless to break the spell. He'd need a sword, or else before she can finish the thought, Theodore suddenly grabs her ankle. So Sarah tells Aquina to increase the water pressure. Theodore can't take it anymore and collapses. Sarah thinks to herself, not bad. He actually figured out he could target the spirit binder. To break the spell, Rai immediately objects, pointing out that the commander signaled Sarah's position. Sarah is furious. They have the nerve to call her underhanded. She orders Aquina to increase the pressure. With his head trapped in water, the pressure keeps building. Theodore's expression grows, increasingly pained. Unable to speak, Commander rushes over, calling out Theodore's name. In concern, he urgently shouts to stop the duel. If this continues, Theodore will die. Sarah refuses to stop, saying this is her duel with Theodore, and it can't end until he surrenders. Sarah walks over to Theodore's side. She tells him that if he admits defeat, he should remove his iron gauntlets. It's simple. She knows he can hear her. Theodore hesitates to remove his gauntlets. The commander can't hold back and steps forward, once again demanding Sarah to stop. The commander says Theodore is still a child. She can't treat him like this. As he speaks, he grabs at Sarah, ordering her to stop. Feeling uncomfortable from his grip, Sarah immediately calls for Aquina. Water instantly wraps around the commander's head. Professor Alara arrives and is shocked by the scene. She asks Sarah what's going on. Sarah protests that they provoked her first. Professor Alara says sternly that fighting violates the rules and orders everyone to stop. Sarah obeys her teacher and tells Aquina to release both the commander and Theodore. The water disperses, and Theodore regains his freedom. The commander rushes over to ask if he's all right. Theodore gasps for air. He furiously tells Sarah, "You'll regret this, using such underhanded methods." Sarah is speechless. She fought fair and square. Then she crouches down and says she has some good news for him. She's been developing a new spell recently. The principle involves using the water. Inside the human body, roughly 70 of it is water. And as a water spirit binder, she's curious to see if she can control the water inside someone's body. Theodore is too terrified to speak, staring blankly at Sarah, thinking she's lost her mind. Sarah continues in a dark tone, saying that draining the blood from someone's body will be quite agonizing, wouldn't it? If he wants to be her test subject, he's welcome to provoke her again. With that, she turns and walks away. Meanwhile, Headmaster Victor watches the duel through a water mirror. He asks the commander if Sarah has been through a lot of hardship. The commander quickly says no, then seizes the opportunity to ask if his punishment can be reduced. The headmaster says he'll put in a good word for him. The commander bows repeatedly in gratitude. The headmaster advises the commander to go easy on Sarah and not try to beat her. He then ends the call. The commander mulls it over. He knew the higher UPS had been watching Sarah, but he hadn't expected such intense interest. He fully understands now that crossing Sarah would end badly, and in a few years, Sarah will definitely wield enormous influence and secure a prominent position at this festival. The next morning, students from Morningstar Academy gather together, preparing for the journey ahead. Ivy excitedly tells Sarah that they'll be teleporting today. Sarah nods, saying she's heard about it too. Ivy looks nervous, saying this is her first time being teleported, and wondering if she'll get dizzy. At that moment, a boy approaches from the crowd. With chestnut hair and purple eyes, he radiates a dazzling presence. Boy walks up to Sarah and directly asks if she's Sarah Kane. Sarah looks at the unfamiliar boy confused. Asking who he is, she has no recollection of him. The boy seems a bit embarrassed and introduces himself as Lucius Ashford. Sarah still hasn't heard the name. Her face remains puzzled. Lucius hurriedly emphasizes his surname Ashford, repeating it multiple times. Ivy reminds Sarah from the side that the Ashford family is the kingdom's only mage. Family. Sarah honestly admits she still doesn't recognize him. She then asks what the esteemed young master of the Ashford family wants with her. Lucius clears his throat, saying he saw what happened in the dining hall yesterday. It left a deep impression on him. Sarah asks, so what? As they talk, she notices Lucius's purple eyes, like premium amethyst, truly beautiful. Lucius suddenly feels his cheeks heat up and become shy. He stammers for a moment, then asks Sarah, "Will you go out with me?" Sarah freezes when she hears "go out with me." Once it registers, she's shocked. Lucius continues his confession, saying it was love at first sight. He explains that ever since he first saw her, using magic so elegantly, he hasn't been able to forget. He keeps thinking about her. This feeling must be what they call affection, right? Sarah mutters to herself what's going on. She's actually being confessed to. But then again, she does look pretty cute now. So it's not that surprising, haha. Lucius excitedly says this is the first time he's felt this way. His heart has been racing since meeting Sarah yesterday. He solemnly promises he'll treat her well. Sarah looks Lucius over for a moment. She honestly admits he does match her aesthetic preferences. But sorry, she'll pretend she never heard what he just said. Lucius quickly suggests they start as friends instead. Sarah still hesitates. Lucius's eyes well up with tears as he asks softly if even that's not okay. Sarah finally relents, saying being friends could work. She thinks to herself that his puppy dog eyes are impossible to refuse. Besides, she doesn't actually find this kind of attention annoying. The moment the teleportation ends, Sarah vomits and cries out in agony, feeling like her insides are about to come out. Professor Alara sighs regretfully, saying she didn't expect Sarah to have a constitution. incompatible with teleportation. This condition is quite rare. Hearing this makes Sarah feel even worse. Bri asks worriedly if she's all right. Sarah weakly says she feels half dead. Professor Alara asks with concern if Sarah can hold on, since they have to teleport again tomorrow. Hearing there's another teleportation makes Sarah even more miserable. What is she supposed to do? She might as well just cry herself to death. Professor Alara then gathers everyone. Explaining this is the transit city of Midgard. Tomorrow they'll teleport to the Astra capital. But today they'll rest in Midgard. At this moment, Sarah, in her arms, is completely drained. Barely able to stand, she looks completely lifeless. The next morning, Rai urgently wakes Sarah up. He excitedly says this is no time to sleep. Something important has come up. The spirit core they didn't get last time is in this city. Sarah instantly snaps awake. She excitedly asks if it's the one, buried by ancient spirit binders, that can summon and attribute less spirit. Rai says proudly that yes, it's in a branch of Darkstone Jewelers. Sarah immediately cheers Long Live chain stores. She excitedly changes clothes and rushes off to find the spirit core. The group arrives at the Midgard branch of Darkstone Jewelers, ready to search for the spirit core. Sarah notices Rai is panting constantly. She teases him for acting like a weirdo. Rai apologizes, and he's just too excited from smelling such delicious food. Sarah suddenly understands. Rai reacts to gems like cats react to catnip. Sarah walks into the shop. She finds the gems inside, sparkling brilliantly. The dazzling display is almost overwhelming. Rai is even more excited looking at the gems. Sarah quickly stops him, reminding him she's broke. The shop attendant sees a child entering. He rudely tells Sarah to leave immediately. However, upon seeing two knights behind her and confirming she's nobility, he instantly changes his tune and asks what kind of gem Sarah is looking for. The attendant adds that if she doesn't find anything right away, she can take her time. The shop has everything. Sarah turns and asks Rai where the spirit core is, telling him to help look for it. Rai looks around. He then points in one direction, saying, "The spirit core is on the display case to the right." Sarah follows the direction Rai indicated. She sees a blue gem sitting on the display case, radiating brilliant light. Sarah thinks to herself that spirit cores possess a captivating allure that's impossible to look away from. Sarah excitedly confirms that this blue stone is definitely the spirit core she's looking for. However, she finds it strange. Such a dazzling blue gem is placed together with a pile of rough, uncut stones. Rai explains that ordinary people can't sense a spirit core's aura. To them, it's just an ordinary rock. The attendant approaches and asks if Sarah found something she likes. Upon hearing this, Sarah points at the blue raw stone. She says without hesitation that she wants to buy this raw stone and asks the attendant to name his price. When she touches the raw stone, a cold sensation shoots into her mind. She instantly knows what it is. An ice elemental. Rai blurts out. The attendant quotes a price after discount: 5 gold coins and 30 silver. Sarah is shocked hearing this. Sarah asks Rai if the attendant is treating her like an easy mark. Rai analyzes that ordinary people can't tell. This is a spirit core. The attendant is probably deliberately inflating the price. Sarah suddenly thinks of a plan. She tells the attendant she needs to use the restroom. First, as Sarah walks, she smugly thinks to herself that she's basically a genius. In the bathroom, she calls for Rai and asks, since this is a jewelry shop, it should have gold bars or something, right? Rai asks in confusion if she's telling him to steal gold bars exactly. Go buy out some gold and bring it back without being seen. Don't eat the stolen gold. Transform it into gold fragments to pay with. And this won't cost much mana essence. The plan is absolutely perfect. Rai asks in confusion, why not just bite off 5 gold coins directly? Sarah explains that then they'd suspect she stole them, and she'd be wrongly imprisoned. Rai doesn't understand, but she did steal it. So how would that be wrongful? Sarah stops explaining and just starts grabbing Rai aggressively. She lifts him up and holds him over the toilet. Seeing the unidentified contents in the toilet, Rai quickly apologizes. He says he'll do exactly as she says. Sarah is satisfied so. Why does he keep provoking such an elegant young lady? Shortly after, the attendant sees Sarah pulling out a pile of gold fragments. His eyes light up with greed, and his attitude becomes even more enthusiastic. Little does he know, it's actually gold from their own shop. What a fool! Sarah leaves the shop with the spirit core. Her mood instantly improves. She can't help but laugh wickedly, like a classic villain. Sarah returns to her room alone and locks the door. She draws the curtains after doing all this. She proudly declares herself a genius. She then begins infusing mana essence into the spirit core. However, the spirit core remains motionless. Sarah is confused. Isn't infusing mana essence supposed to work? Why isn't there any reaction? Rai suggests she try infusing more mana essence. Maybe there isn't enough. Sarah follows the suggestion and infuses more mana essence into the spirit core. This time, a spirit core finally reacts. The spirit core emits a dazzling white light. Sarah excitedly says there's light, but she quickly senses something's wrong. The spirit core radiates a spine-chilling hostility. Rai suddenly shouts for her to dodge quickly. The moment he finishes speaking, the spirit core launches an attack. Rai continues to warn Sarah to be careful. This spirit core seems dangerous. At that moment, a cold voice asks who awakened it. Sarah instantly realizes what the voice is. It's an ice elemental she discovers. This ice elemental is completely different from the one she summoned. Before, she thinks to herself that if she can bind this ice elemental, her power will increase dramatically. So she introduces herself as Sarah Kane, saying she's the summoner and wants to form a contract with it. The ice elemental hesitates for a moment and asks if she's human. Sarah firmly responds yes, and she'll be its master. So hurry up and form the contract. I refuse, the ice elemental states bluntly. Sarah is completely unprepared for this response. The atmosphere becomes awkward. The ice elemental continues, saying it doesn't believe Sarah is qualified to be its master. A pathetic and flawed human doesn't deserve to possess it. Sarah tries to argue, barely getting outweighed. The ice elemental simply vanishes. Sarah stares at the empty space, unable to believe the ice elemental just left like that. Rai comforts Sarah, telling her not to bother with such an arrogant ice elemental. He'll always be by her side. Sarah ignores Rai, her mind completely occupied with the ice elemental. Calling her pathetic, her pride has been trampled. She recalls the ice elemental calling her insignificant, and the more she thinks about it, the more wrong she feels. Her spirits sink to rock bottom. She decides she must make the ice elemental pay for rejecting her. Soon it's time for the second teleportation. After teleporting, Sarah's legs tremble weakly. It's even worse than last time in Midgard. Ivy sees Sarah's suffering and approaches to ask if she's all right. Her face full of concern, Sarah weakly thinks that, even though she took a stability potion, it didn't help at all. Seeing this, Professor Alara immediately comes over to carry Sarah on her back to ease her suffering at this moment. The suffering. Sarah swears never to use a teleportation circle again. As night falls, the streets of the Astra capital are brightly lit, and bustling Ivy excitedly tells Sarah to look ahead, that's the venue for the Holy Radiance Festival. They look up and find the Holy Radiance Festival is even grander than described in books. Sarah then turns to Lucius, saying he doesn't seem very devout. Lucius explains that coming from a mage family, he doesn't have much reverence for clerics. Besides, clerics consider mage magic to be a challenge to the gods. In an act of disrespect, Sarah asks if clerics also think spirit magic is heretical. Lucius says probably so. Sarah scoffs after hearing this. After complaining, Sarah realizes she accidentally spoke out loud. She simply stops hiding it, saying she never liked the gods anyway. No need to hold back besides. She's been incredibly unlucky lately. She suspects the gods are messing with her. She wasn't expecting anything good to happen anyway. She just wanted to maintain the status quo. But the gods can't even manage that. Afterward, they go shopping together. Ivy drags Sarah around everywhere, having a great time. They even get trendy hairstyles done. Looking adorable at that moment, Lucius carefully walks over, holding a bouquet of blue flowers. He says he thinks these flowers suit Sarah, and hands them over. Sarah accepts the flowers. She admires how beautiful they are and thanks him. Seeing Sarah likes them, Lucius says shyly that he's glad she does. Suddenly a hawker's voice rings out Legal Beast Bazaar. Step right up, don't miss out. Sarah immediately shouts, excitedly wow. Over there want to check it out. Harvey and the other knight immediately stop her, saying it's too dangerous. Not a place for children. Sarah and Ivy exchange glances. Then when the knights aren't paying attention, they quietly slip away. They run toward the Beast Bazaar. Ivy asks Sarah how she's feeling, saying it's good. She brought her out to have fun. She explains that she saw Sarah looking downcast earlier and wanted to cheer her up. Sarah is touched hearing this. Sarah suddenly stops, saying she just had a strange feeling. She feels like someone's watching her. Ivy's expression suddenly changes, as she urgently shouts for Sarah to look behind. The moment she finishes speaking, someone forcefully covers Sarah's face. Both Sarah and Ivy are capture-bound. Sarah struggles and mentally calls out for Rai, wanting him to rescue her. The kidnapper grows impatient, telling his accomplice to knock Sarah out quickly and stop her struggling. Sarah cries out in pain after being struck, then loses consciousness when she wakes up again. She's locked in a room. She thinks to herself that this world is absolutely insane. She anxiously calls for Ivy, wanting to know where she is. Everything around is pitch black. A male voice says the girl captured with her should be nearby. Sarah asks who he is and if he was also captured, but he doesn't respond, though thinking about it. Kidnapped people probably aren't in the mood to chat. Sarah fumbles in the darkness and finally finds Ivy. She anxiously calls her name, asking if she's okay, but she discovers Ivy is asleep. She breathes a sigh of relief and tries to calm herself. Impulsiveness is dangerous, but then she thinks she's been in danger so many times already. How can she stay calm? She can't help but curse. Forget staying calm, damn it. This is terrible luck. After calming down, she asks the boy nearby if he knows what time it is. The boy says he doesn't know, but it's probably morning. He was caught when he snuck out. Sarah calculates that the boy has been captured. For at least 12 hours, she wants to see what's outside, but it's too dark to see anything. Sarah calls the boy over. She then steps on him. She tells the boy to stay down properly, so she can see outside. The boy agrees. Looking out through the window, she wonders if this is a tower. She can only see sky. She then sighs and jumps down, saying she still can't see anything. She summons Aquina, hoping the spirit can help. Aquina panics upon seeing the environment. Sarah tells her to calm down. She needs her help now. The boy beside them is surprised to see Aquina. He says this is his first time seeing a spirit. Sarah tells him to look carefully. Spirits are precious. The boy quickly nods. Sarah asks Aquina if she can become transparent. Aquina immediately turns transparent. Sarah tells her to fly outside and check the surroundings and count how many bad people there are. Then report back. Quickly, Aquina departs at her command. This drains a lot of Sarah's mana essence. Before long, Aquina returns to report. She says there are many rooms outside, each holding prisoners, and some rooms contain things that aren't human. This floor, specifically for children, is on the 8th floor with rooms both above and below. Aquina continues. The lower floors have more people, all tall and scary, carrying weapons. Sarah asks if Aquina can defeat the people outside. Aquina honestly says she cannot. Sarah sighs. Forcing their way out seems difficult. She needs another plan. Sarah asks the boy if he knows magic. He says no, but he knows a bit of swordsmanship. Sarah sighs. Helplessly, there's no sword here. So he can't help Aquina is their last hope. She tells Aquina to turn invisible and go out. Once outside, drop the invisibility spell. Find the knights calling her or Ivy's names, and somehow bring them here. Aquina nods, saying she understands. Sarah adds that if she sees Rai, bring him too. Sarah watches Aquina leave, then turns to rest. She thinks she needs to conserve mana essence. She tells the boy not to bother her if he wants to get out. The boy says it doesn't matter if he gets out or not. Sounding very negative, Sarah asks where his mother is. The boy says with a sob that his mother passed away. Sarah quickly apologizes. The boy continues. His father doesn't like him, maybe even hates him. Everyone calls him useless. The boy says that before his mother died, she wanted to tell his father that he was his son, but he didn't know his mother was sick. He recalls that learning swordsmanship with his mother in the forest was the happiest time of his life. His father's house is big and frightening. Everyone points at him and insults his mother. As he speaks, he can't help but sob again. Sarah didn't expect the boy to cry. She thinks this will affect her, but she can't help feeling sad too. The boy cries out that he hates his father. He didn't even come when his mother died, even though she kept calling for him. Sarah tells the boy to stop crying if he keeps going. She'll cry too. She's emotionally affected. Ivy suddenly wakes up and asks if that's why he ran away from home. How pitiful. The two then start chattering back and forth. Stuck between them, Sarah can't calm down at all. Her mana essence is dropping rapidly. Ivy asks what the boy's father's name is. The boy says his name is Valder de Ceres, and his mother called him Kyle. His father's surname is Valdorian, and his name is Reginald Hearingvalder. Sarah is shocked that's a royal surname, and direct bloodline even carries too. Sarah looks at Kyle, thinking this naive boy is actually imperial royalty. Ivy exclaims in surprise. That Reginald is the name of the Empire's king. Doesn't that make him a prince? Sarah panics too. She just stepped on Kyle's back. If he's a prince, she's in trouble. Kyle calmly confirms it, confused why they don't believe him. Ivy can't help but retort that if Kyle is a prince, then she's a dragon. Hearing this, Kyle is delighted and seriously asks if she's really a dragon. These two are way too noisy. Sarah really wants to be alone. Suddenly she stands up and says it worked. Aquina seems to have successfully called for help. They just need to wait for rescue. Ivy gets excited too, then realizes and asks Sarah where they are. Sarah says they've been kidnapped. Ivy guesses the kidnappers are after money. Sarah is about to answer, but she sees both Ivy and Kyle staring at her blankly. Sarah sighs, helplessly saying, "They're too naive. Some perverts in this world enjoy hurting children." Ivy and Kyle freeze instantly, finally realizing the severity of the situation. Kyle says quietly that he's a boy. Sarah interrupts, saying there are perverts who like boys too. Both of them tremble in fear. Sarah tells Kyle to come help untie the ropes. Now isn't the time to be scared. While being untied, Sarah mutters to herself that Kyle is so obedient. He doesn't seem like a prince at all. Kyle thanks Sarah, saying if they can escape, it's all thanks to her. His mother taught him to be grateful. Sarah advises Kyle to go home after escaping and not stay alone in the forest anymore. Kyle says he wants to go back to the forest. Sarah tells him his mother is gone. He can't survive alone in the forest. There's nothing there besides. His mother would surely want him to live with his father, get a proper education, and not go hungry. Kyle asks uncertainly if that's really true. Sarah says she understands that feeling. All parents in the world want their children to live better lives. The more places beyond reach, the more we long for it. Kyle softly hums in agreement with Sarah's words, his emotions calming somewhat. While untying Ivy, Sarah advises Kyle to look forward. The home in the forest is gone. He needs to face reality. Kyle worries he won't have anything to do at his father's house and doesn't know how to fit in. Sarah suggests watching his most favored siblings and doing even better than them. Kyle worries he'll be punished for running away and getting kidnapped. Sarah, internally, complains that Kyle is just as timid as he looks. She suddenly asks Kyle whose fault it is in a fight. Kyle says the person who strikes first is at fault. She asks whose fault kidnapping is. Of course it's the kidnapper's. What did he do wrong? Kyle hesitates. But he's the one who ran away from home. Suddenly kidnappers burst through the door, ordering them all to come out. Sarah panics Aquina hasn't returned yet. They're in trouble by the dim light. She gets a clear look at Kyle. She discovers he has black hair and golden eyes. He really does look like a prince. The kidnapper threatens viciously that they'd better come out obediently, or they'll suffer. Sarah mentally calls for Aquina, begging her to come quickly. She's their only hope now. Kyle suddenly steps in front of Sarah and Ivy. Saying not to hurt them, the kidnapper grows impatient, telling his subordinates to drag them out and stop wasting time. Kyle shouts for the kidnappers to get away and not touch them. He then turns to reassure them that he'll protect them. The kidnapper mocks Kyle for trying to play hero, telling his men to ignore him and grab the girls. The buyers heard they caught fresh ones and want to take a look with luck. They can sell both. One of the kidnappers suddenly grabs Ivy. Sarah is grabbed by another. She urgently calls out Ivy's name. Kyle lunges forward, trying to save Sarah, shouting for the kidnapper to let her go. The kidnapper grabs Kyle by the neck and laughs, saying he's useless in desperation. Kyle suddenly bites the kidnapper's hand. Trying to break free, the kidnapper recoils in pain, wildly swinging his hand to shake Kyle off. But Kyle bites down and won't let go. The kidnapper flies into a rage, cursing Kyle as a damn brat. He viciously slams him against the ground. Sarah shouts for him to stop, telling Kyle not to keep fighting if this continues. He'll get hurt, Sarah calculates internally. There are only 3 of them. If she summons Edwin, she might be able to turn things around. But she needs to save her mana essence, so Aquina can return successfully. If she summons Edwin, she might not have enough mana essence, and all will be lost just then. Ivy breaks free. While the kidnapper isn't paying attention, she immediately head-butts the kidnapper, restraining Kyle, cursing them as stupid pigs, and forbidding them from bullying people like this. She then frantically pounds him with her fists. The kidnapper is enraged, calling Ivy a piece of trash. Ivy refuses to back down, saying don't hurt her friends. You stupid mutt. At that moment, another kidnapper grabs Ivy's braid from behind. He lifts her up and threatens, you all want to die together. They throw Ivy roughly to the side. Then they surround Kyle and beat him savagely. Sarah can't hold back any longer and shouts Edwin's name, but Zeta appears instead, excitedly saying, Master, I'm here. Edwin also emerges, about to ask what to do, but Sarah forcibly recalls him and he disappears. Reluctantly, Sarah tells Zeta it's free now and orders it to break every bone in these kidnappers' bodies. Zeta immediately attacks, and the kidnappers scream in agony. People outside hear the commotion and come to investigate Zeta. In a frenzy, hisses at the newcomers. It then crawls back to Sarah's side, awaiting her next command. The kidnappers from outside are both frightened, and furious they ask Sarah if she's the one who ordered the snake to do this. Just as he reaches for Sarah, Zeta lunges forward and bites his hand. It coils around the kidnapper's neck, squeezing tighter and tighter until he can't breathe. The kidnapper asks in terror, what's wrong with the snake? No matter how hard he shakes, he can't throw it off. Sarah watches the scene before her and tells Zeta. Well done. Zeta looks up and asks, Master, may I kill him? Sarah's heart jolts at the words. She thinks to herself that someday she'll kill someone, too, but is it now? She pushes the thought aside for now, walks over to check on Kyle's injuries. She finds him badly bruised and severely injured. Sarah thinks guiltily that if she hadn't kept silent, Kyle and Ivy wouldn't have been hurt this badly. Seeing things go south, kidnapper immediately drops to his knees and begs Sarah for mercy. Sarah turns and asks Zeta which is better, killing the kidnapper or breaking his nose. Zeta analyzes from a man's perspective. Breaking his nose might make him suffer more. Sarah makes her decision, then let's do that. Zeta immediately opens its mouth, ready to bite down, listening to his screams. Sarah thinks she has no need to care about bad people's lives, or deaths, even if she lets him go. He'll continue trafficking slaves and harming others. The kidnapper, with his nose bitten off, continues begging for mercy, saying he'll never do it again, and pleading with Sarah to spare him. Sarah sneers coldly, thinking that just minutes ago, he was planning to sell children, and now he acts like the victim. She says to the kidnapper, "Slave traders like you shouldn't be reborn as humans in your next life." Zeta catches Sarah's hint and immediately tightens its coil around the kidnapper's neck. Just then a female kidnapper appears, grabbing Ivy and threatening Sarah to stop. If her brother dies, Sarah's friend won't even have a whole corpse left. Seeing this, Sarah calculates silently. Can she hold out until help arrives? She's not sure. Sarah asks the kidnapper what happens if she refuses. The kidnapper mocks, "Then your friendship must be fake." Sarah counters, "Your brother's in the same situation. My snake can snap his neck instantly." Ivy immediately cries out in fear, "Sister." His body trembles uncontrollably. The female kidnapper compromises, saying if Sarah releases her brother, she'll let them all go. She proposes they both release the hostages. At the same time, that's the fairest way. "Sarà difficile, no. You have to release my friends first." The kidnapper grows impatient, saying Sarah doesn't seem to understand. They can only live if she releases her brother. At this moment, Sarah feels her mana won't last more than a few minutes, but she still struggles to maintain her composure, saying she's not interested. At this moment, she senses a queen approaching. Sarah encourages herself silently. Just hold on a little longer and help will arrive. The female kidnapper tells Sarah to choose. Let them go now or keep fighting and end up being sold. Just then a subordinate rushes in, calling out to the boss in a panicked voice. The subordinate says, "Unknown knights are forcing open the secret passage. It's only a matter of time before they're discovered," and tells her to run. The female kidnapper suddenly realizes why Sarah dares to be so arrogant and keeps stalling. She's been waiting for backup. Furious, she points her sword at Sarah and threatens, "If you don't want to die, release my brother now." Sarah immediately shouts Aquina. Aquina appears and asks anxiously, "Master, are you all right?" Sarah asks where the knights are. Aquina replies that the knights are downstairs. She told them the entrance and came ahead first. The female kidnapper now understands. No wonder Sarah could call for help. She's a spirit binder. The female kidnapper presses her sword closer against Ivy's neck. Seeing this, Sarah shouts to Zeta to take action. Zeta immediately tightens its grip and bites the female kidnapper's brother's ear. It even tears it off. Seeing this, the female kidnapper immediately gives in, quickly tossing away the sword pressed against Ivy and saying she'll release her first. She releases Ivy and asks, "Is this enough?" She begs Sarah to quickly release her brother. The kidnapper, with his ear bitten off, cries out tearfully, "Sister," hoping to be rescued quickly because he's in too much pain. Sarah observes her surroundings, thinking that if the kidnappers could get to this point, there must be other secret passages. The knights will arrive soon. She needs to stall for time. The kidnapper sees Sarah isn't moving and shouts anxiously, "What are you standing there for? Release him now." She grabs Ivy roughly, saying if Sarah doesn't release him, she'll kill her friend. Sarah immediately gives in. "I understand." She then tells Zeta to release that bastard, and most importantly, protect Ivy. Don't let anything else happen. Just as Sarah finishes speaking, she suddenly coughs up blood. She quickly covers her mouth. Seeing this, Aquina immediately flies over worriedly, calling out "Master," but because her mana is depleted, she finally dissolves into points of light and disappears. The knights finally arrive, their voices echoing. Kyle also wakes up at this moment. Seeing the knights arrive, the kidnapper curses furiously. "Go to hell, you brat." She swings her sword at Sarah and Kyle, the blade driving straight toward them. In that critical moment, Kyle blocks Sarah with his own hand. Kyle screams in pain, tears streaming down uncontrollably as the wound bleeds continuously. Sarah urgently says not to pull the sword out. The knights will come handle it soon. So before she can finish, Sarah coughs up more blood, her body growing weaker. The kidnappers take advantage of the chaos to escape. Sarah quickly shouts to Zeta to chase them. Don't let them get away, she emphasizes. They must kill those kidnappers. They must kill them. Hearing this, Zeta immediately crawls out to pursue the fleeing kidnappers. Sarah watches the direction Zeta leaves, her vision growing increasingly blurry. She feels like she's sinking to the bottom of a lake. Her heart is full of anger. She's unwilling to let it end like this. Then she suddenly opens her eyes. She sees unfamiliar surroundings. She wonders where this is. Her mind isn't fully awake yet. Zeta pokes its head out and tells her she's suffered severe internal injuries and has been unconscious. Sarah can't believe it. Zeta adds that she's been running a high fever, and a divine priest came to see her during the day. Sarah rubs her forehead, saying she doesn't really remember what happened before. She suddenly remembers Kyle and asks Zeta, through the stabbing pain, "Where's that black-hair boy?" Zeta shakes its head, saying it's not sure. When it came back, Sarah was already like this, and it didn't pay attention to anything else. Sarah gets out of bed and asks how many days she's been sick. Zeta says it's been 2 days. As soon as Sarah's feet touch the floor, she immediately can't stand steady. Zeta advises its master not to push herself. Her condition really isn't good right now. After steadying herself, Sarah asks what happened to those slave traders. Did it catch them? Zeta replies that it did chase them, but the traders ran very fast. And during the festival, the streets were especially crowded, making it hard to pursue them. Sarah has no patience for details and tells Zeta to just say the result. Zeta replies that by the time it found the traders, they'd already run outside the city. It was too far from its master. It was worried, so it didn't continue chasing. Sarah shouts angrily, "Didn't I order you to kill those slave traders and not worry about me?" Zeta says seriously. Spirit's most important duty is to protect its master, not to kill. Sarah angrily prepares to leave the room, saying she remembers what the slave traders look like. Even if she has to report them to the city watch, she'll catch them, but after just a few steps, her body starts to hurt again. At this moment, voices come from outside the door. Sarah gets up and goes outside to see what's happening. She happens to hear Professor Alera saying she'll never see Kyle again, and her heart tightens. Sarah walks forward and calls out Professor, asking what she means by never seeing Kyle again. Professor Alera answers soothingly, "Kyle asked me to tell you, thank you for saving his life. Someday he'll repay you. He originally wanted to leave you a letter, but his hand was injured." Professor Alera's tone turns serious. "You need to forget everything that happened that day. Don't mention it again. Kyle's family doesn't want anyone talking about this incident." Sarah can't believe it and shouts, "How can this be? I still have things to say to that idiot Kyle. I haven't even had the chance to thank him. How can he just disappear?" The more Sarah thinks about it, the angrier she gets. Tears well up in her eyes as she thinks that Kyle saved her, leaving her with this emotional burden. And now he's vanished. What is she supposed to do? Suddenly inspiration strikes. That's right, she can petition the king. So she says firmly that she must enter the competition, and she must win, so she can request an audience with the king, and then request to see the king's son, His Highness Valder de Ceres. This is the Flame Crown Tournament. Elimination rounds. Gathers talented youths from various nations, and this competition involves each country's pride. More importantly, the Empire's king will attend in person to watch. This is also the only competition where awards are presented by the king himself. Its significance is extraordinary. Winning this competition is equivalent to winning a war and can elevate a nation's prestige. On the competition grounds, Sarah just finishes her match when a reporter suddenly rushes out. Calling her name, the reporter asks Sarah what she wants to say about reaching the finals, how she feels now, and whether her goal is the championship. Sarah feels a bit uncomfortable and says she's shy and doesn't really want to be interviewed. The reporter quickly stops her, saying the person most likely to reach the finals is Cade Thornbrook, and everyone's betting on him to win. He presses Sarah, asking if she's confident she can defeat him. In 10 seconds, Sarah looks puzzled and asks, "Who's Cade?" The reporter shouts in shock. Cade is the second son of Duke Thornbrook, the swordmaster, and this year's strongest junior division candidate. Sarah says indifferently, no matter who the opponent is, I'll still throw them out and win. The reporter gives a dry laugh and says, "Thank you very much for your answer." Sarah watches the reporter's retreating figure, thinking he probably finds her arrogant. As she returns to the rest area, she thinks it's just because she has internal injuries. She can't compete for too long, so every match needs to end within 10 seconds. Opponents who don't understand spirit binders are basically prey for her to toy with, and even if they understand something, she has ways to make Aquina restrain their feet and throw them out of bounds. She has the Grey Wolf mercenaries to thank for all this. It's because of them that she's become stronger. Sarah arrives at the rest area and notices everyone watching her. She thinks to herself that this must be what power tastes like. Oh ho, after all, she's the only one from Morningstar Academy who made it to the finals. At this moment, matches are still ongoing in the arena. She notices the woman beside the king. In the very important persons section, she asks Professor Alara if that's the queen. Professor Alara nods and confirms. That's the first queen, however. There was also a second queen. The king wanted to install Leah Moraine because of her low birth. She only received the title of royal consort. Sarah realizes that Leah must be Kyle's mother. Alara explains that Leah was the only female knight in the Royal Knights, but she suddenly disappeared. Everyone thought she'd been poisoned to death, until last year when Leah suddenly appeared alive, bringing with her a 12-year-old boy. That boy, with golden eyes, brought huge turmoil to the palace. This is the second Prince Balder series. Before this, the king had only officially recognized the two sons, born to the queen, until Leah and her son appeared. The queen's faction's absolute power instantly collapsed because of Kyle. Everyone speculates the king did this because he deeply loved Leah. But Leah passed away not long after Kyle was recognized as a prince. Leah probably sensed her life wouldn't last long, which is why she brought her child to the palace. After hearing this, Sarah feels deeply moved, and it further strengthens her determination to see Kyle. Soon as the announcement sounds, the junior division finals officially begin. The host begins introducing the two competitors. Cade introduces himself first. "I'm Cade Thornbrook. Please go easy on me, you despicable person from a small country." Sarah holds back her anger and retorts, "I'm Sarah Kane, you little brat." As the referee shouts, "Duel begin," the match officially starts. Sarah speaks, first asking Cade if he can swim. She simultaneously summons Aquina. She orders Aquina to use water prison on Cade, attempting to control him. However, Cade reacts quickly, swinging his long sword fiercely and interrupting Sarah's spell. Sarah is forced to retreat. Dodging Cade's attack, Cade presses forward relentlessly, while Sarah keeps evading. As Sarah dodges, she thinks, this guy's attack speed is much slower than the Grey Wolf mercenaries, and his sword techniques are very orthodox, easy to dodge. She can see through his intentions at a glance. Sarah feels secretly pleased, even without speaking aloud. She and Aquina can communicate mentally. Aquina then launches her attack. Cade's entire body is enveloped in a water sphere. Floating up, Sarah taunts, "You thought stopping me from chanting would be enough." Too naive, Cade can't hold his breath. Soon water rushes into his mouth. He can't even hold his sword. It falls to the ground. Sarah laughs loudly, "Ha ha. You can't even swim, and you dare act arrogant with me." She then orders Aquina to throw Cade down. Queen responds and slowly pushes the restrained Cade. As they pass the referee, he looks utterly bewildered. When he comes to his senses, he immediately announces loudly, "The winner is Sarah Kane." Cade climbs up, shouting that's so unfair. Sarah naturally ignores him. She leaves the arena in high spirits. Now, she just waits to receive her reward before the king. Suddenly someone blocks her path ahead. Sarah looks up and sees red hair and yellow eyes. He's staring straight at her, and he looks very similar to Cade. At this moment, Cade runs over. He hugs the man's leg, shouting, "Brother," confirming Sarah's suspicion. Sarah watches their interaction and asks if he's Roderick Thornbrook. Roderick asks curiously who Sarah is. Before she can answer, Cade speaks first, complaining to Roderick that Sarah bullied him. Before he finishes, Roderick kicks him away. Seeing this, Sarah replies that her name is Sarah Kane. Roderick acknowledges this, then asks if she wants to fight him. Sarah is quite surprised and asks back if he's serious. Roderick nods, very seriously yes. But Sarah thinks he's crazy. "Why would I fight you just then?" The announcement sounds, notifying Roderick to attend his match, interrupting the conversation. Sarah takes advantage of Roderick's distracted attention to quietly slip away. Her instinct tells her Roderick is a lunatic. She absolutely shouldn't get involved with him. Not long after the announcement sounds again, beginning the awards ceremony. Sarah walks forward as the champion. After taking her position, she feels very awkward. She never expected to be standing between the two brothers, Roderick and Cade. Roderick keeps staring at Sarah. His eyes seem to say he wants to duel her. Full of provocation, Sarah turns her head to avoid him, but she meets Cade's angry gaze instead. He's just like an angry puppy. With a commotion, the king's procession arrives at the competition venue. Everyone immediately kneels in respect. Sarah kneels as well. Sarah takes a deep breath. Preparing herself, she waits for the king to approach and begin the next part of the ceremony. Sarah steps forward according to protocol. She bows respectfully, calling the king the son of the continent and wishing his majesty long life. The king speaks, congratulating Sarah on winning the championship and saying he'll personally bestow honors upon her. In the king's name, Sarah responds respectfully, saying, receiving his majesty's blessing is her family's honor, and she'll remember it for life. After the pleasantries, Sarah anxiously hopes the wish-granting segment will come quickly, but the king suddenly tells Sarah to come forward. Sarah freezes. There was no such step during practice. She has no choice but to walk forward with stiff limbs. Her entire body is in a highly tense state. The king asks her what a spirit binder is. Sarah organizes her words, saying, spirit binders control spirits through willpower. To battle the more a spirit binders heart aligns with their spirit, the stronger their power becomes. After hearing this, the king praises Sarah as clever and insightful. The king continues, I watched your match with great interest. I even summoned the palace spirit binders, and they all marveled at your talent. They even repeatedly emphasized keeping a talent like you close. By hearing this, a familiar feeling rises in Sarah's heart. She nervously breaks into a cold sweat. Does the king want her to pledge loyalty to the empire? But Sarah still pretends not to understand, saying she doesn't quite grasp his majesty's meaning. The king says bluntly that she can make a wish to become part of the empire. Sarah is shocked by his bluntness and quickly demurs, saying she's only 10 and doesn't want to leave her parents. The king remarks sarcastically that the Valen kingdom must be good at brainwashing. He suddenly tells Sarah to come closer. Sarah panics more, worried that refusing to submit will get her killed by the king. Sarah slowly approaches, but the king changes the subject, mentioning that a blonde girl saved his son. That girl is a spirit binder from the Magic Academy, clearly referring to Sarah. The king asks Sarah what wish she wants as the victor. Sarah gathers her courage and says she wants to see his highness to Sarah's. But the king directly refuses. He says the second prince is reflecting on his actions, and I cannot see anyone for now. The king asks Sarah in return why she'd use her wish, just to see the second prince. Sarah answers honestly that she and Kyle became friends. She just wants to say goodbye before leaving Astra. The king seems surprised and says softly, "So my son has a friend after all." He explains that if he grants Sarah's wish, he'd have to overturn his own order, so he cannot agree at this moment. Roderick walks over and raises his hand, saying he has a good idea. As a champion, he also wants to make a wish. The king nods in approval, looking at Roderick with adoring eyes. Sarah silently complains about the differential treatment. She hears him directly wish to duel with Sarah. Sarah is shocked. What is this lunatic saying? But seeing the king's excited expression, she panics. More, don't be so excited. The king says with a smile that a duel between champions is indeed a good idea. Sarah quickly makes an excuse, saying she's only 10 and it's too disadvantageous to compete with 16-year-old Roderick. The king promises to set unfavorable conditions for Roderick. If Sarah wins, he'll grant her wish to see Kyle. Sarah weighs her options. She can't decide anything here. If that's the case, then let's fight. I'll make you regret underestimating me. Hearing the answer, the king immediately summons the marshal to prepare the match. The announcement then declares that His Majesty, the king, has specially arranged a duel between champions. The entire venue erupts, frantically shouting Roderick's name. The rules state that, due to age and specialization differences, Roderick is forbidden from using his left hand. Hearing the audience's cheers, Sarah is speechless. This is clearly his home field. Roderick draws his sword, saying he's a swordsman. This is his first time competing against a spirit binder, and he's very much looking forward to it. Sarah responds, "I'm Sarah Kane. I don't want to waste words with you. Let's begin." Sarah then quietly orders Aquina to turn invisible as soon as the match starts and make it rain in the arena. On the other side, Roderick has already raised his sword, ready to strike as soon as the referee shouts begin. Aquina immediately turns invisible. A massive wave suddenly appears behind Roderick. He quickly dodges. He rushes quickly towards Sarah. Sarah urgently shouts for Aquina to act. The massive wave obeys and continues chasing Roderick. It then grabs his leg, attempting to restrict his movement. Roderick reacts quickly, stabbing at the water coiling around him with his sword. But it's completely useless. Aquina shouts, excitedly, "Master, I caught him," but the next second, the sword in Roderick's hand emanates sword aura. Sarah's expression changes when she sees it, realizing the danger. She urgently shouts for Aquina to run. But it's too late. Roderick instantly breaks through. Aquina's control with his sword aura power is astonishing. The audience gasps. Young Master Roderick finally displayed his sword aura in this match. At this moment, the rain Aquina controls begins to fall. Roderick gets drenched and thinks, so this is what a spirit's power is like. Sarah looks at him and says, "He seems quite composed." Roderick says frankly, "Yes. I want to understand more about spirit's abilities." While he's talking, Sarah immediately accumulates water above his head, ready to counterattack at any moment. As soon as an enemy approaches, she'll immediately attack with the accumulated water to force them back. And as soon as he steps on water in the arena, he'll be trapped immediately. Unexpectedly, this lunatic, Roderick, actually uses sword aura to split the water beneath his feet. He charges forward at incredible speed. There's no way to catch him. He slashes with his sword, and Sarah quickly dodges. She thinks irritably that if she can't catch Roderick, there's no way to win this match. In desperation, Sarah controls water to rise from the ground. It forms a water ring surrounding the entire arena, trapping Roderick. The scene is spectacular. Sarah shouts, "Compress." The water ring begins rapidly shrinking, creating immense pressure on Roderick. Roderick refuses to yield and begins charging his sword aura. With a tremendous boom, Roderick splits the water ring. Sarah breaks down, seeing this seriously. "That water sphere cost me so much." Mana seeing Roderick charging toward her, Sarah immediately shouts for Aquina to use Blood Siphon. At this moment, The water droplets on Roderick begin to rise. They turn increasingly red. This technique is similar to draining blood, though it's a bit taxing for a low-level spirit like Aquina. It's very effective since Rodra can't use his left hand. Let him suffer a bit. Rodra quickly rotates his sword. Without hesitation, he slashes at the spirit power clinging to his shoulder. He breaks free from the restraint and charges towards Sarah again. Now Sarah truly has nowhere to hide. She urgently shouts for Aquina to use Mist Veil. The arena is instantly shrouded in mist, obstructing visibility. Roderick also instantly loses his sense of direction. Nothing can be seen in the mist. Aquina anxiously calls out Master. After reuniting with her spirit, a sword suddenly slashes through. Sarah relies on instinct to dodge quickly. She rapidly retreats, thinking this lunatic Roderick wants to kill her. The longer this match drags on, the worse it is for her. Fortunately, the mist is thick now and no one can see. So she shouts for Edwin to come out. She tells it to give its all, and first launch an attack using 10 of her mana. At this moment, Sarah can hear footsteps around her, but doesn't know Roderick's exact location. Suddenly lightning strikes near Sarah. She's surprised he's so close to her, but she quickly calms down. Right now, Roderick is soaking wet and holding a sword. It's basically a lightning rod before a lightning elemental. Sarah shouts for Edwin to do it again, this time using 20 mana with greater intensity. Edwin follows the command and launches the attack. The electric current strikes Roderick accurately. Using mana continuously leaves Sarah exhausted. Her whole body aches. She feels she's reached her limit. The mist still swirls. Sarah calls for Aquina to reveal herself. Now, they just need to finish. As soon as the words leave her mouth, Roderick suddenly appears behind Sarah. His eyes carry murderous intent. He fiercely charges up all his sword aura before Sarah can fully react. Without the slightest hesitation, he slashes directly towards Sarah. In this critical moment, Aquina swiftly blocks in front of Sarah, shielding her with her body. The sword aura strikes Aquina, and the spirit is instantly cut and disperses, finally dissolving into points of light, disappearing into the air. Sarah watches Aquina vanish, completely devastated, but the sword in Roderick's hand doesn't stop. It slashes straight towards Sarah. Sarah's mana is depleted, unable to resist. She's instantly struck down. This is the first time in her life she's heard the sound of a spirit being torn apart. Her heart shatters. She feels her insides being twisted together. And about to burst, she knows her pain is nothing compared to Aquina's coughing blood. She forces herself to pull it together. Cheers, celebrating Roderick's victory. And Professor Alera's concerned voice instantly flood her ears. Roderick glances at her as if in contempt. Saying nothing, he simply turns and walks away. After returning, Sarah keeps trying to summon Aquina, but there's never a response. Each attempt to summon only brings despair. Again and again during that time, Sarah remains immersed in fear and grief over Aquina's possible death. Unable to free herself, she continuously curses Roderick Thornbrook as a bastard, venting her anger and pain. Sarah remembers Professor Celine once said that the pain of a spirit binder, losing their spirit, is no less than a mother losing her child. This is probably a condition unique to spirit binders. It's both a flaw and an unavoidable weakness. But how can she accept the fact that Aquina may have left her? It had always been by her side. After returning to Valen, Sarah fell ill for over a month, both physically and mentally devastated. When she finally recovered, people around her offered more congratulations than comfort, which made her feel worse. The headmaster said he wanted to give her an award in front of all the students and told her to come. Sarah completely ignored him. To her, winning the junior division tournament is meaningless. Instead, it brought her a humiliation she'll never forget. Professor Celine comforts Sarah, saying she can be completely proud. After all, not everyone can stand against Roderick. Who could beat Roderick? The outcome of this match was predetermined from the start. Sarah passionately retorts. But the professor doesn't know anything. If she hadn't been foolish, she definitely could have won. Then Aquino wouldn't have ended up like this. She asked Celine back. So it doesn't matter to lose to Roderick. Who decided that Celine changes the subject, asking if Sarah looked at the king's gift. His Majesty is very pleased with her. Sarah wraps herself back in her blanket and responds that she's not interested. Celine helplessly urges her to pull herself together. Sarah doesn't respond instead. She gets out of bed and asks Celine for paper and a pen. She wants to write to the king, requesting a dedicated training chamber to improve her strength. She knows clearly that only spirit binders, who can control high-level spirits, can match sword masters with firm conviction. She thinks whatever Roderick can do, Sarah can definitely do as well. She will have her revenge.